Thursday, it's Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Coming up in about an hour or so, we'll check in with Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver. Of course, he's part of the broadcast. We'll be in Charlotte. He'll be out there Sunday, a rare noon kickoff right here on 96.5 The Fan. Yeah,
especially, I mean, the slate this week in the NFL is not very good.
Look, Chiefs-Panthers should be the noon game. It should be.
Well, the Chiefs are 4 of the 5 most watched games this year, though.
They are. If they were playing Carolina at 3:25, it would do better than a normal Carolina Panthers game, but I understand why it's at noon. That means pregame coverage starts this Sunday at 9 a.m. with Danan Hughes and Mitch Holthus, Josh Klingler, Dan Israel. That's coming your way. Also, a little bit later on today, it's a Snitch Line Thursday. I'm telling you way in advance because we don't do this as often as we used to, but today is a Snitch Line Thursday, around 1:15 or so. You got some time to think about it, something that you've been meaning to get off your chest, something you saw around the workplace, something you did. Also, the holidays around the corner, so that's the kind of theme we're going with today. You can text them in a little bit later on, 913-586-7965. But doesn't this game on Sunday and the feeling around this team and offense remind you a little bit of last year heading into the Bears game, where we all thought that, okay,
it was a struggle for the offense up to that Bears game last year.
Does that not feel, not the same feeling for this one? Because you said yesterday on the show you thought it was a vanilla offense. When you had Ross Tucker on, you thought it was a vanilla offense against Buffalo.
I thought that it was maybe the most plain, boring game plan they had going into a game all season. And I'll be honest, I'm having a hard time imagining why this week would be any different. What do I think they're going to do? Show the world to the Carolina Panthers? For what point? So, yeah, I kind of feel like even though I got this borderline boring version of an offense that I don't want to see very often if I'm the Chiefs, because what I credit them for the most is their ability to be creative and find different ways to attack defenses other teams don't. Is the Panthers going to be the week that fires up? Really? Carolina? I have a hard time. So, for your purposes, yeah, I kind of feel like maybe this is a get-right game. That Buffalo game frustrated me because in a lot of ways, I don't buy into the full conspiracy that is it was vanilla because they didn't want to show Buffalo anything, as much as I think that they were trying to figure out, and Nate Taylor kind of indicated that maybe he feels that way, as much as I think sometimes where they're like, okay, our offense isn't going well. If you listen to Andy earlier this week, he said, we got to simplify some things. I am making things too complicated for some of these players pre-snap, and I got to start dumbing this down. That's not what he said, but he might as well have, so that we can be more efficient at the things we're good at. That's kind of what I think we're going to get in the Panthers game this weekend.
The Panthers have won a couple in a row, but let's not get anything confused about still who they are as a football team. Their wins are against the Giants by 2 points and a point against the Saints. Those are the two Bryce Young wins.
Those are two of the worst teams in the league.
The Giants have since benched their starting quarterback, and the Saints fired their head coach after they played the last go-around. So I don't suddenly think the Panthers have just figured it all out, even if Bryce Young has more confidence. I hear you on the offensive game plan against Buffalo, and I think it's a little bit of both of, yes, kind of not showing things, but I also think that's something in general, in sports, I just don't believe in. I think sometimes we assume teams are holding everything back for another matchup. I think there are elements that they're willing to hold back or not show.
Or test against that defense to see if they work later.
Mainly because also Hollywood Brown might be available the next time they play. Isaiah Pacheco likely available the next time they play. That kind of stuff. So, of course, the offense is just going to look different. For this week against the Panthers, yeah, I don't expect them to have a ton of new looks or whatever. But at the same time, because they lost a week ago to Buffalo, I do think this is a bounce back spot, or at least a spot in which the Chiefs kind of get right and get the confidence back and get some guys that maybe haven't performed at the level they wanted recently. So Xavier Worthy had the drive against Buffalo where you're like, okay, here we go, but they haven't connected on the deep pass. I think Xavier Worthy, once again, they're going to have one or two opportunities again to connect. Is this the week it happens? That ultimately might be one of the most successful things that could come out of this game on Sunday, besides the obvious, which is a win.
They should borderline feed him in this game.
I just think this has the makings of the Chicago game from a year ago. I don't know if they're going to win by 20+. I don't think they will. But I do think they're going to cover the 10.5. I do think they'll end up winning this thing comfortably, and that's why some other pieces might actually get in the game late. This is why, depending on Isaiah Pacheco's status, he was limited in practice yesterday along with Kareem Hunt. But wherever his status might be, maybe this is a game in which we actually do see somebody like Carson Steele or Samaje Perine late get more work than normal because they have the quick turnaround.
Rush.
Well, they have the quick turnaround. Black Friday against the Raiders next week.
I mean, here's the thing: the Panthers reek. I mean, they're just like they give up the league worst 160 yards rushing per game, so they're dead last in the NFL at that. So to your point on Carson Steele, even from a betting angle, becomes very interesting if you think this game is a blowout. 160 yards per game. They give up the 6th most passing yards per game. So you're like, okay, so they're just not good on defense anywhere? Yes, that's correct. They are not good on defense anywhere at all. They are dead last in the NFL in points allowed per game. Look, some of this is the Chiefs' offense is somewhat limited. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. It definitely is. But if you start going through their schedule, it's not going to be hard to find out how many of the league's top defenses they've been going against. Right now, points per game. The Chargers are number 1. Denver's number 3. Okay, well, I mean, there's 2 teams already they're going to face 2 more times. Pittsburgh's number 2, by the way. By the time the season will finish, the Chiefs will finish the number 1, number 2, and number 3 defenses in the entire NFL in a points per game perspective. They've already faced Buffalo, who is 9th. They will face Houston, who's 11th. I mean, they've faced a lot of very good defenses.
First place schedule.
This is the league's worst defense. It just is. The only other team that they face in the bottom 5 so far this year would be Las Vegas and Cincinnati. 2 teams who they had some of their, better offensive outputs against. Because they're bad defenses. The Chiefs can still take advantage of that in a lot of ways. But I think they can do it just by being Vanilla is not bad this week. They're the worst rushing defense in the league. All right, fine. Just hand it to Carson Steele and and Kareem Hunt, and if Pacheco's back, just hand it to them like 45 times and call it a day. Like, I'm dead serious. This could be we're essentially the army of the NFL this week. I don't care. Just run it as many times as you feel like against the league's worst rushing defense.
Yeah, I think offensively they're actually going to be fine in this one. It'll be, the defense, Carolina, in the 2 wins they've had, they actually moved the ball. But that was, again, I'll just continue to emphasize, against the Giants and the Saints. What's weird, just if you believe in trends and bounce back spots and things like that, when I was looking at this game, it stood out to me just because I wasn't aware of this. Did you know that in the 4 other times, because it's rare that Mahomes loses by a touchdown or more, we know that, right? It hasn't happened very often. In the 4 other times that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs had lost a game by 7 points or more, the very next week, we saw the team defensively in particular step up. So coming off a loss by more than 1 score 4 times, the defense that next game gave up just 17, 13, 17, and 14. Now, you could dive deeper and find out who's the opponent and everything. To me, the opponent doesn't matter because they're playing the Panthers, so it's as bad as it gets.
Yeah, like it doesn't. Don't look at the opponent. They're facing one of the league's worst teams,
right? And so it's not been that the next week Mahomes and the offense just blows up and has 400 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. No, it's that the next week after a quote unquote big loss where they lose by more than a touchdown, the defense plays some of their best football. So to me, I look at it as that, where I don't know if the Chiefs are scoring 35 points against Carolina on Sunday, but are they going to win by a comfortable margin? I believe that because of the defense. This also feels like a defensive bounce-back spot because historically that's been the case. Is Carolina scoring more than 17 on Kansas City Sunday? I think the answer is no.
Well, the Panthers, again, a team that's played from behind a lot. I would still say the thing they do the best is use Hubbard. When they're playing good football, they use Hubbard. They rank 24th in the NFL in rushing yards per game. How do you think that's going to go over against the league's best rushing defense? Like, I mean, it's just, they're not.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people on the, they're out there. I see the text line already. Someone says, I'm a pessimist. I totally get it. He said, I think the game has 17-13 written all over it. I think typically I would be with you because we know the Chiefs, the old, hey, they don't blow anybody out. I think if the Chiefs would have won and they were 10-0 right now, maybe and played some of their best football the last week, I would probably lean to, I don't know about 17-13, but I'd be like, okay, the 10.5, I don't know if they cover.
24-13 or something, yeah.
But this team coming off a loss, usually there is a refocus. I don't buy in that like, oh, they need a loss. I think that stuff gets, I laugh at that sometimes. Like, they didn't need a lose, okay?
No, they could have just kept winning.
But when you do lose, I do think there is a refocus that occurs. I really believe that. That's more about Andy Reid and his philosophy and how they kind of go back and truly self-scout, if you will, and recognize what needs to change. They're not complacent. Some teams like, oh, well, it'll just magically get figured out. No, like there's things they have to work work on, and I believe this coaching staff time and time again has shown that they are able to correct those mistakes.
I'd fall short of calling it a, wake-up call.
Yeah.
But come on, man. I mean, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's like if you play ping pong with your friends or any other competitive thing you've ever done in your life. They hadn't lost since Christmas last year. You kind of just get used to it. And you go out there sometimes and you're like, yeah, we'll probably win. And I think that there is a complacency that sets in for any person or any team who gets that level of comfort. And sometimes, yes, as you pointed out, a loss like that can be a refocus game. But I think the 2 wins in a row, sometimes convince you that, maybe the Panthers are playing good football. I'm just going to tell you right now, dig as deep as you want. Dig in every single category you want, every major, minor category. The Panthers are a bottom 5 team in every single statistical category available. They are dead last in points scored. They are dead last in points allowed. They are one of the 5 worst passing offenses, rushing defenses, it doesn't matter. They are one of the 5 worst teams in every conceivable category available in the NFL. If this ain't a get-right game, well, then they got problems. If I have to come in here on Monday and the Chiefs eked out a win 20-17, I'm going to start looking at their flaws as real flaws and not just flaws I don't care about because they're the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions. I'm going to start looking at them more seriously. They should beat the hell out of this team. It's a bad team. One of the worst. There's no other way to describe it.
I was going to ask what your level of concern is. Somebody from the text line from the 913. If they don't blow the doors off the Panthers, what is your level of concern? I don't know if you can give a 1 to 10.
I need to see the gameplay, but if it's just a grind out 2017 win and it's close the entire time, they got to come back in the fourth. High.
Your concern's an 8.
High. Yeah, but if it's starting the fourth quarter and the Chiefs are up 20-10, and then it's 20-10 until the 32nd mark of the fourth quarter, and the Panthers get a garbage time touchdown, and it's all of a sudden a 3-point win. That's the context that we need, because otherwise, then it doesn't matter. I think, it's of course just how do they look? There's the eye test element. They don't need to win by 20 for me to feel good. If they, by the way, if they win by 8 to 12 points, that is what they need to. You know what I mean? That's all. That's
what Vegas says they should win by.
Right.
It shouldn't be a 1-possession game, is what you're saying. If it's a 10-point game,
unless it's the circumstance that I brought up, where they're up by 10 throughout the entire game, and then with 25 seconds, Bryce Young throws a 70-yard touchdown with the second stringers in. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Well, they lose 20-17, and Xavier Legette gets 8 catches for 100 yards on Najee Johnson. Fine.
Yeah.
I'll come in here in real panic mode then, but I don't think that's going to happen.
This game is more about the areas where we clearly know they have struggled. You mentioned Najee Johnson. Can he bounce back and have a better performance against Thielen and Legette? Can the Chiefs find a way to get any pressure on Bryce Young? Can the Chiefs get any better performance from their offensive line? Does Mahomes and Worthy finally connect? That, more than the score, truly, it's those things against an opponent that clearly is not near your level. Can you do some of the things that we have all noticed have not been there? Can you do those better, at least against them, to show that get some confidence up? I think the confidence thing with Worthy is huge here. If the first time all year, can they connect? I guess it'd be the second time going back to week 1 or week 2. Can they maybe for the second or third time all year connect deep on a Worthy pass? Doesn't even have to be for a touchdown, but can it be for 40 yards down the field? They do that. That to me is a huge win out of this game, more than winning by 17 points.
It's a get-right game. Make sure you get all your ducks in a row.
So we'll talk more about that, I'm sure. And we'll ask Danan Hughes when he joins us next hour. What happens as a player? What's the psyche? You have a big game, you lose. Now they're not.
Now it's a non-serious opponent.
Yeah, they all they can say what they want, but everybody knows the Panthers are not a good football team. But how do you, as a player, tell yourself that, no, this team can beat us? How do you go about that? So we'll get into that with Danan Hughes. Meanwhile, yesterday I was driving back from the show and coming back up here for the betting show, and I was listening to Carrington and Rob, and they had Richard Deitch on. For those that don't know, he's always been kind of the sports media reporter. He works for The Athletic now. He does a sports media podcast. And so they had Richard on to talk about what's going on with Major League Baseball and the TV rights. We filled you guys in a week ago on the latest update with the whole Diamond Sports Group bankruptcy, and could the Royals renew their deal with what was Bally, now it's FanDuel Sports Network or whatever, and their games could be distributed through Amazon. But part of the thought is, Major League Baseball would really like to bring in all the rights in-house and then be able to distribute it out. And long-term, it could actually be a really good thing for the league and for you, the fan. So one of the things they asked Richard Deitch about was that very idea, and he was skeptical, and he is skeptical, of that plan, bringing everything in-house because of what's going to happen in New York and LA markets, for example?
I'm a skeptic on this because as someone who lived in New York for 20 years, I find it very hard that the Yankees and the Mets would give up their revenue when it comes to the Yes Network and SNY. Now, Rob Manfred is going to try to sell them on the fact that if we can get all our inventory under one roof, ultimately it will pay off for everybody long term. Maybe he's right, but you are making a big ask if you're the owners of the Yankees, the owners of the Mets, the owners of the Dodgers in particular, to walk away from these lucrative deals that have not only made them money, but it's essentially almost guaranteed them the playoffs all the time. Now, I get why, like the Cardinals or the Royals or the Diamondbacks, sort of name your mid-market kind of teams, why they would want all this, why they'd want essentially an NFL model like you're talking about with Sunday Ticket. So I am a big, big skeptic. If you want to play the optimism role in terms of if you're looking at Major League Baseball, you're correct. I think 2/3, if I'm right about this, of MLB's 30 teams have their rights available come 2028. So they would be setting, already, they'd be sitting with basically 23, 24 teams to start with, and then they'd have to try to convince the big teams to go along.
So that was Richard Deitch yesterday on The Drive with Carrington. Look,
Obviously, I love it.
If you're a Royals fan, you should love the idea of bringing it all in-house and let's even this thing out. And that, of course, could also help balance out the competitive balance of spending and everything. But it's a fair point. Like if I was the owners of the Yankees or the Dodgers or
why am I agreeing to this?
It's true. Like why should they want it? You know what I mean? Like it's the approach the NFL way back when they were merging made, and like they look bigger picture, and it obviously paid off in a huge way for them. But that's very difficult, I'm sure, to convince the Steinbrenner family, or what's his name with the Mets, the name Cohen. How are you going to convince them? And you had a good idea to maybe do that, because otherwise, I don't think this. I'm with Richard Deitch, where I don't think bringing it all in house would work. Because first, they got to be on board.
Baseball needs this bad. They are the least competitive balanced sport, maybe on earth. I mean, I don't. It's really bad. They have no system of checks and measures in order to keep these teams from spinning out of pocket. I mean, we can break down tomorrow, even if you want, why if Juan Soto ended up as a Dodgers, baseball is irreparably broken if they can allow that to happen for one team. This is what I would do to solve this problem, because this is good for the sport. One, the argument is actually relatively sound. If you allow me, Rob Manfred, to collectively bargain with these places to sell all of our streaming rights in one place, we're a big bad entity, and we can get a massive dollar sign. We're all going to make more money. What I would do in order to convince these small schools, these bigger cities, in order to do it, is I would do it exactly the way the Big 12 did it to keep Texas and Oklahoma. And I know that in the end it didn't work well or whatever. People were frustrated by it. And I would offer the larger markets, the New York Yankees and the Dodgers and these others, a 10-year ability to get a larger share of the massive TV pie so that we're weaning you off the eventual number. Hey, for a little bit of time, you get a bigger share of the pie. You still make more than us. Okay, we're sorry. But the point is that eventually we got to find a way to slide closer to making these franchises more competitively balanced between each other. So we're going to give you some time to work yourself off of those TV deals, and then we're all going to get rich together. Because the truth is, baseball needs this, because one of the issues they have with the sport is the regional nature of it. And part of the reason is because you can't care about teams outside of yours because you're operating essentially under a different system. That's how I would attempt to go about this if I were Manfred. I hope he finds some way to convince the owners to do it, because obviously I think it's good for the sport.
He's gonna have to really sell them on the long-term view, which I think is going to be really challenging considering the amount of money and success that those organizations have had, and their TV deals. I mean, they're incredible deals. I mean, we're talking about the Yes Network or SNY up in New York, and some of those deals are signed up through 2035, I think 2036. For the Dodgers deal, I think it is out in LA. And so how do you convince them? You're saying, hey, just give them more. You use the Texas example, or just look at it the reverse way. When TCU and West Virginia first joined the Big 12, they got a smaller share. Yeah. Same, however you want to view it, same kind of concept. I get what you're saying. Maybe, that it's just this conversation is the same conversation why during the collective bargaining of Major League Baseball during COVID, when they were trying to figure out how to do things, why they struggled post-COVID to try to get everything figured out, why they ultimately got off to a late start for that season and the following season is because getting the higher market teams to understand the long-term view, the whole concept of should we have a salary floor, should we have a salary cap, and all that. The reason why neither one of those exist are because of the same 4 or 5 teams we're discussing.
Well, in a 5-year time, it's so hard to describe. You're like, how, like, just on top of being in a bigger market and having more value and being able to spend more and all this other stuff. Like the Royals TV deal reportedly last year made him about $50 million. Who knows if it'll make him even that this year, because the company who currently has their rights or had their rights is bankrupt, and they're the only team in baseball who does not have a television home next year firmly settled. The Yankees reportedly made about $150 million, and the Dodgers made close to $200 million. So just while you're thinking about like, how can the Dodgers spend so much more on payroll? TV alone has a massive impact on this. In a 5-year time period, the Dodgers would be expected to make $1 billion more from their TV deal than the Royals in 5 years. I mean, that's enough, just real quick, for Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani. Does those seem like a pretty big difference between the teams? And so, like, it's so disproportionate. It's out of damn control. And I know that they're never going to go salary cap. This is like one way to even the playing field without being like, hey, and that's the other deal I would make. Do this for us, and we're never coming for you for a cap, okay? Do this for us, and we're not trying to get a cap implemented under my tenure. You know, we're cool. I'm never going to do that to you.
Look, I'm fully on board with this idea, but I just to play the other side again, imagine if you are the Yankees and the Mets here,
I know.
and what you're saying, like, oh, we'll promise you we'll never have a salary cap. They don't need that promise because they're preventing it from ever happening anyway. They're not worried. You think the Yankees are actually worried that there's ever going to be a salary cap implemented? No, they know that's never happening as well. So you offering me that insurance is offering nothing. And what you said about the salary stuff is true. But again, if I'm the Yankees and Dodgers, if I know what you just said is true, which is that I know I can spend more than you because of my TV deal, why am I agreeing to make it easier on the Royals? No, I'm just playing the other side. Obviously, here in Kansas City, I would love this, but I do get their viewpoint on it, and this is the challenge that Major League Baseball has and Rob Manfred has with trying to make this thing work. All right, the other part that Richard Deitch talked to CDOT about yesterday on the drive when I was driving around, I heard was this thought of where streaming is headed. And whether we're talking NFL or Major League Baseball, we all know everybody's upset that, you know, they have to have a different app or they got to pay another $9.99 a month and it's basically cable again and all that. We're all on the same page, but it's not changing. This is where we're at in 2024. Listen to Richard Deitch talk about the cost for consumers moving forward with sports.
The one thing, I hate to say, but the one thing you could always bet on is ultimately the consumer's going to pay more for sports. So Manfred may be able to pull this off, but again, I would just, for anybody listening, your audience, if you are a diehard baseball fan, the likelihood is that you are going to have 3 or 4, I'd say minimum, streaming services to watch all of these games. Now, again, a lot of people, you know, particularly men under the age of 40, they have discretionary income and they're willing to pay for it. But in many ways, sports heading forward, particularly in the 2030s, it's kind of going to be an upper middle class play. You're going to have to spend some money in order to watch this stuff.
I mean, that's disheartening, I think, for a lot of people to hear, like the reality of the situation that if you're a diehard sports fan and you're trying to watch, in this case, he's talking about baseball, but I think that what his answer to me applies for all the leagues going forward.
Right now, if you wanted to watch a Chiefs game and you lived just outside the local TV viewing market, you already know this. You have to have 6 apps to watch the Chiefs. This year alone, you would have to have Netflix, some sort of like YouTube channel, right, to watch it on like CBS, Peacock, they're already on like 4 or 5 channels. So you already have to have that for football. The difference is locally you don't notice it because you get to just watch it on the antenna or watch it on like the local CBS or Fox. Here's the difference for baseball and why I don't care. I'll already pay the flat. I'll pay the $19.99 a month for Bally or I'm fine to pay that. I understand that that's the way it's going. I've decided that that's a price. For the other 5 apps that they might end up in the year, if it's a one-off game, I'll just miss the game.
162 of them.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'll make
there's
Friday night, Apple TV. You got an Apple TV to watch the Royals. Guess what I won't do? I just won't watch them. I'll just let that one go.
Cody, that happened this year. They play on a couple of Friday nights this year on Apple TV, and people didn't watch.
If I don't have Apple TV, I'll just let those games go. If they're like, hey, tonight on Peacock, the Royals are going to play the Orioles, I'll be like, I guess I'm not watching the Royals versus Orioles. I'll just tune in to 96.5 The Fan, the home of the Royals. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
With baseball, they're never going to convince me to sign up to 72 apps to watch the game.
No.
I'll watch the majority on the price.
I'm with
and
you
then
on
ditch the
baseball.
rest.
I'm with you on baseball. Same way. There's so many games. It's not a big deal if I miss three games. So they're on TV. I was totally with you. I think the challenge is his answer was about baseball, but I think it speaks to he said the 2030. So which is I know it seems like it's far away, but it's going to be about 5 years away here in a few months. So it's not. It'll sneak up on you before you know it. Hell, the World Cup is happening in 2026. We've been talking about that for a while. That's not that far off either. No. So in the 2030s, let's just say, what you said about the apps that you won't have that app for baseball, yeah, but where we're trending is you're going to need, for even the NFL, to watch these games most likely 4 or 5 apps. And they may hopefully have some overlap to where, all right, baseball, like right now, hockey's on ESPN+. A lot of their games on ESPN+. There's a chance that Major League Baseball games could be on ESPN+. At least then you're getting two major sports on that one app, and that's what'll be interesting to me.
That's
like,
what they're banking on.
Do we see any bit of consolidation? He's saying no for baseball. He thinks it'll only continue to broaden. But do we see any consolidation for some of this? And ultimately, decisions are going to have to be made, as he said, like depending on your financial situation and where you're at in life. You know, some people will be like, fine, I don't care. There'll be others that'll say, we're going to have to make a choice. So what are we going to watch? And if you're baseball, because of where you are out of the big three, there'll be the diehard baseball fan, but the casual fan is going to choose the NFL over baseball. We know that's the case right now.
They're already choosing it. I'll just start rotating. That's what I've already started doing. If a show that you like is on Apple TV now, you have it until that show's not airing, and then you get rid of that one for a little while and start at the other one you want.
Coming up next, as we're just getting started here on a Thursday, it's Cody and Gold. One thing Andy Reid has a chance to do on Sunday that can ultimately impact his legacy when it's all said and done. Plus, another sign of why a certain executive around here did not get enough love. We'll explain that next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for K-State Athletics. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Not too long ago, I had to drop about $800 to $1,000 on new brakes for my car. I've talked about my vehicle. It has quite a few miles on it at this point, and I know I'm spending a lot of money on maintenance. That's the reality of a used vehicle. It's the reality of not having a newer vehicle under 40,000 miles. That's why you got to think about the total cost of ownership, whether it's the maintenance, whether it's the insurance, whether it's any other factor that goes into owning a vehicle, gasoline, all of it matters, and that's where Max Motors comes in. One, they're going to walk you through exactly what that total cost of ownership is going to be, not just flash the straight-out monthly payment and what that is like some other dealers do out there. Max Motors has the best financing options available with the max trade-in values in the Midwest. For example, a new 2024 Ram 1500's up to $18,000 off MSRP. Stock number 90052. And Max Motors is just down the street. In fact, 7 minutes from the Grandview Triangle at 192 miles an hour. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car, maxmotors.com.
What does it mean to be the official information technology provider for the Chiefs? It means everything. Technology Group Solutions makes sure everything runs flawlessly for the millions of fans that attend games and the hundreds of millions of fans that comprise Chiefs Kingdom around the world. Technology Group Solutions can deploy that same dedication, problem solving, and incredible service to ensure your business runs smoothly. Technology Group Solutions, powering Chiefs Kingdom, and ready to do the same for you.
It's time to start a new week in the NFL. Let's get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app. Because right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Let's build a quick same-game parlay for Thursday Night Football. I'm going to take the Steelers plus the points. I'm also going to take the over for Russell Wilson passing yards. I'm also going to take Najee Harris to score an anytime touchdown. If you want to make this same-game parlay or build your own, all you need to do is visit FanDuel.com/CDOT to make every moment more this season. Don't miss a second of the NFL action with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and also 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable bonus pass, which expires 7 days after restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Can help us your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
This Thanksgiving at Total Wine & More, find bourbons and Cabernets that you adore. With curbside pickup available and the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My check engine light's on?
That could hurt your gas mileage. The AutoZone free Fix Finder service can help find the fix for free.
Get in zone.
This whole report for free?
That's right, printed and on your phone for free.
Get in zone.
But what if the fix is too tough?
We'll recommend a local shop. Fix Finder, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Introducing TGL presented by SoFi, golf's newest league on ESPN and ESPN Plus. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game. To learn more, visit tglgolf.com and tune into the inaugural season beginning January 7th. Keep up. It's golf.
Did you know that Wendy's has any size soft drinks for just $1? Yeah, any size, anytime. Like $1 Coke, $1 Sprite, or even $1 strawberry Fanta. Okay, could we maybe switch up the sound effect, please? Because I'm losing it. Wow, no, not that. Any size soft drink for just $1? Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. A la carte only. Not valid in a combo. Exclusions apply.
Jake from State Farm. I just beat my running PR, so I'm celebrating with the Banana Bonanza smoothie.
Hey, and you can keep celebrating when you create an affordable price just for you by bundling your home and auto with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. Go bananas.
I will. Hey, make it a large.
Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
After you use Bounce Dryer sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll put a sheet on it every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Put a sheet on it. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Put a sheet on it. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry, put a sheet on it with Bounce.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM. Or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
I'm Jenna Fisher.
And I'm Angela Kinsey.
And together we have the podcast Office Ladies.
Just because we finished rewatching The Office does not mean we're going anywhere.
Every Wednesday, we'll be sharing even more exclusive stories from The Office and our friendship with brand new guests. Plus, you can revisit all the Office Ladies rewatch episodes every Monday with new bonus tidbits before every episode.
So follow and listen to Office Ladies on the free Odyssey app and wherever you get your podcasts.
Arvest Bank, believing in the power of serving others.
Arvest Bank believes in the power of serving others. That's why we're committed to supporting those who serve our communities. We believe that all communities deserve a financial partner who cares. Arvest. We believe.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get to the trash of the day a little bit earlier than we normally do. If you normally don't catch the 11 o'clock hour, we do something called Trash of the Day around 11:20. Moved it up today because we shuffled the chairs around a little bit. Danan Hughes going to join us in the 11 o'clock hour today, so we're excited to have that. So we'll get to trash in just a little bit. But on Sunday, when the Chiefs take on the Panthers, Andy Reid could actually clinch his 19th season with double-digit wins. 19 years. That puts him only behind Bill Belichick and Don Shula, okay? Some of the greatest coaches of all time. And he obviously is already considered, Andy Reid, that is, one of the greatest coaches of all time. They each had 20 seasons with at least 10 wins. And this isn't a Hall of Fame discussion. This is what he is chasing. Maybe he won't publicly say it, but I think fans in Kansas City would certainly love for this to be the case, which is greatest coach of all time. And can he be considered that universally by the time his career is over? The biggest challenge, of course, is Bill Belichick. And I think whether or not Belichick coaches again is a huge factor in this, because right now, Andy's 5 or 6 wins off the playoff total win pace or mark for Bill Belichick. We know the rings, is another aspect of this too. And we know how it ended for Belichick. So if Belichick doesn't ever coach again, and we'll find out this offseason.
Reports are he still wants to, but
right.
yeah.
But if he doesn't, then it really means Andy is going to for sure go out on a much higher note than Bill Belichick did. And maybe with another ring or two when it's all said and done. And the narrative around Andy is going to be way more positive as, oh, yeah, that guy was the greatest coach of all time, because he's going to finish his entire career the way that Belichick had, of course, in the middle of his career.
When I look at it, like the ring stuff is going to matter in some part of this, right?
Sure.
There's just no way that it's not going to. That's just the way it works. I never think you have to get to the total number in order for me to think that way. Like, for instance, Shula, right? Who is the coach? He is one behind, same as the other. One behind in the total number of 10-win seasons, which I actually think is a great measuring stick of how good of a coach you are. That just means you are consistently great. All you do is win, 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 win. Hell, Mike Tomlin's got to be coming up on that number 2 at this rate, seeing how the man never has a losing season. But when you look at it, Shula coached in an era where free agency didn't exist.
Yep.
Like, no offense, like that is playing in a whole different rule set.
But that's why I think Andy Reid, it's an Andy Reid Belichick conversation,
Agreed.
not an Andy Reid Shula. Also, Andy's now 7 wins clear of Shula in the postseason.
Agreed.
And he's already, Super Bowl ring-wise, too. He's already in the same number.
So, much like Patrick Mahomes, with one more ring, Andy Reid becomes the second most prolific Super Bowl winning coach in NFL history. He'll be at 4. The only other person at 4 is Chuck Noll, then Bill Belichick at 6. I think simply by winning the Super Bowl sometime in the next 2 years, as long as Bill Belichick never wins one again, I think you can make an argument for Andy Reid as the single greatest coach of all time. He did a huge chunk of this without the all-time great quarterback. Bill Belichick did it all with an all-time great quarterback. Every single one of his accomplishments, all 6 Super Bowl wins, all of those 10-win seasons, all the things that Bill Belichick has accomplished is with the single most effective quarterback in NFL history. Right now, people's single greatest quarterback in NFL history. All of it was that. Half of Andy Reid's accomplishments are with Donovan McNabb and Michael Vick and Kevin Kolb and Alex Smith. About a third of his, like the other half, or a third, or what? It's probably 2/3 with those guys, and a third with Patrick Mahomes. He gets some points for that.
That should be weighed into this, and I do think just from a narrative perspective, ending your career the way it looks like Andy's going to end it is going to be strong. And let's just be real: if we're going to talk about the narrow margin, and that's always important to know, whether we're talking about quarterback greatest of all time. No, we are going to nitpick on these conversations because we're literally talking about the greatest of all time. Not is he a Hall of Famer? That's already settled. Same with Mahomes.
Between the single biggest conversation.
And so part of the narrative, and 2 people have texted this in as well. We were going to get there as well. There's the head-to-head stuff, sure, where Bill Belichick, I believe, has a winning record against Andy. But the cheating stuff will get brought up. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to say Andy Reid did not cheat. He did not have Spygate. He did not have Deflategate, even though that one was a little more
bogus.
But Spygate was the big one, obviously.
That one was for real.
The Spygate was the biggest one. He didn't have that around his career either. And if we're talking about the narrow margin, and Andy is 1 ring off when it's all said and done, let's say, but he has more playoff wins than Bill Belichick when it's done. And he overall wins are very close. And he's coming off potentially a Super Bowl when he retires, or within the last 3 years or something like that when ultimately he retires. I think that will matter for a lot of people. Not in New England. Obviously, they're going to always say it's Belichick. I get that. I'm talking about the masses, the folks that are the historians of the game that are going to ultimately be part of this conversation, and fans.
Convincing a national TV audience on a coast. By the way, owned is a little bit strong. Andy Reid is 5-7 carear against Bill Belichick.
I didn't say owned, I don't think.
No, somebody on the text line did. I think you read their text line and been like, Bill owned Andy head to head.
He had a better record. Yeah.
5-7. Now, and you're going to be like, well, he beat him in the playoffs twice. Okay, but one time was with Alex Smith versus Tom Brady. So that, Again, same problem involved. Now, one was Patrick Mahomes versus that. I will say in his first full year as an NFL starter. So again, I am allowed context in this situation. But some of the numbers that you should be surprised by, again, considering which quarterback they got to do the majority of it with. As it sits right now, Andy Reid is only 5 playoff wins behind Bill Belichick all time. Only 5. That is crazy impressive, considering, again, the two quarterbacks, if you look at the 20 years comparatively. That impresses me a lot. And I get it. He now is racking up those totals because of the quarterback that he has.
And there's not the double bye. Some people would say there's not the double bye.
And there's not the double bye, so you are able to pick up more wins. Although, again, I would make the argument that makes it harder to win in the postseason and harder to win Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Like the whole in-number game is now more difficult by the fact that if you are not the number 1 seed, you are not guaranteed only 2 games before getting to a Super Bowl, adding a completely different challenge to the mix. I think Andy is pretty simply 1 Super Bowl and a few more continued seasons like this away, assuming Bill Belichick doesn't accomplish something either in a new coaching venture or not. Because here's the other thing. Andy Reid's going to win this by default. If Bill Belichick comes back to coach and he takes, let's say, the Jags job, and it doesn't go great.
Ooh. That's what I'm saying about how they end their career.
That's going to hurt.
That's what I'm saying about how they, like, the fan and what is, call it recency bias, fine. But that will factor in for a lot of people. If Andy's out there going to Super Bowls in his final couple of years and Bill Belichick either is retired the way he did, or what you just said, that he comes back and he doesn't make the playoffs, or he's out in the wild card weekend.
Yeah.
I think that will impact someone. Like, this is why these conversations are a ton of fun. 913-586-7965. Someone said Shula did it when there were fewer games, therefore fewer opportunities. Shula should always be number 1. From David in Kansas City. This is why I love these
in the playoffs. I'll say.
Yeah, I love these conversations because they are. I mean, like, there are fair points. You can certainly make some points for each individual. I don't think the comparison, when it's all said and done, is going to be between Shula, Andy, and Bill Belichick.
Mostly because a lot of people would be having that conversation, won't remember watching Don Shula coach.
Maybe that's fair too.
Or will remember watching him coach, but like in the 80s when or the early 90s when the Dolphins were fine under Marino, but not a Super Bowl winning team.
Yeah, I think when the career is finally capped off for both Belichick and Andy, whenever that is, I don't think the conversation will be about more than just those two individuals for greatest of all time. But these are kind of fun. We'll revisit this coming up a little bit later on.
I guess, do you think Andy will coach long enough? Is there any chance he can catch Shula for all-time wins?
Where are they at?
He is
exact total.
No
where
chance.
Are they at?
Well, 200.
NFL
Okay, so career wins. Andy Reid has 267. He trails Bill Belichick by about 30. That's the next, but 328 is the current record. 328. So he's got to get another 33-60.
Let's take an average.
He's got to get another 60 career wins.
Let's just say, and he can sometimes win 14. But let's do an average of 12 wins a year. How many years does he have?
5. He's got to coach 5 years if he gets 12 wins a year.
And there's some years where he's winning more than 12.
I'll be honest.
Can he coach 4 more?
That ain't crazy.
Basically, I think honestly, he coach 4 more to get. It was what it would probably take.
It's not crazy.
No,
it's not out of the question. I don't think he'll get it. But it's you definitely can't say it's out of the question.
No, I mean 300, which basically gets you to Bill Belichick's number. If Bill doesn't coach, he'll pass Bill Belichick in the next 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, and I think he's coaching
3 years. I guess
that goes back to the same thing. Anytime we talk about Andy Reid and legacy and Willie Ketch, it's like part of this is how much longer do you think he's going to coach? And I still think he's going to coach. I told you 3 years ago I thought he was coaching at least 5 more years, and I'll tell you today I think he's coaching at least 5 more. There's no end in sight for Andy Reid. I don't care how many articles Mike Florio wants to write. He has never given any indication he wants to stop coaching football.
I agree. I'm just laughing because as we're looking at now that we're digging deep into the career stats for each of these coaches, just different eras of football, right? And so it has the wins and losses, right? Andy's 267 and 145. And it's funny just because back then with George Halas and some of these guys, the ties were a real thing. And so like Don Shula had 6 ties. George Halas had 31 ties in his coaching career.
31?
Yeah, well, he was coaching in the 20s and the 30s in some cases.
Yeah, that's true.
Just different era. And Belichick has never had a tie in his career, and then Andy has one. But that's just an era thing. Because Curly Lambeau had 22 ties. We don't see. That's just not something that's it's not a thing other than for Halas and Curly Lambeau at all.
I was trying to look it up by win percentage, but it's all screwy because it's a bunch of nobodies. Like technically Dave Wanstead has a better
No, Guy Chamberlain.
Oh, wow.
No, just than some other people. I'm not than most people.
I wasn't expecting
Guy
Curly
Chamberlain is
Lambeau
number
to come up
one.
on the show today.
John Madden is the second best win percentage in NFL history.
Well, that's why I got all those video games,
That's why. That's the only reason why. Is that what you're? That's the only reason, huh?
So are you
Matt
saying
LaFleur is actually in the top 20.
He is.
So are you saying that if they come out with a new game, like if ESPN comes back out, it's going to be the Andy Reid NFL 2K5 or 2K20, whatever?
I think Madden's just the name for eternity now. But yeah,
someone actually. This is a really good point. Actually, on the text line, someone brought up, hey. Also, to catch Shula, if the league in the next 4 years expands to 18 games, there's an extra one for Andy to get there quicker.
And no, by the way, I would just say this
point.
is because the NFL is not like baseball and they don't care about the counting stats. No one will ever reference that. By the way, no one will ever care that Andy Reid beat Shula playing with more games.
Oh,
no,
I think some people.
I don't think anyone.
Not the casual, but like in the greatest of all time conversation, people will definitely use that as a pro or con for their case. Now, the 30 years from now, the random NFL fan is not going to probably top of mind bring that up, but if someone's having like a true argument about it, they would use that. Anyway, fun stuff there talking about Andy Reid, who does once again have a chance to clinch his 19th season with double-digit wins with a win on Sunday against the Panthers. Let's talk baseball briefly before we get to the trash of the day, and that is because the NFL, or the MLB, continues to trickle out awards.
MVP comes out tonight.
MVP is tonight. Spoiler, Aaron Judge is going to win. Seth
Hopefully
Lugo,
not unanimous.
Yeah, true.
He's probably going to win unanimous.
He's probably going to. But last night, saw the Cy Young Awards announced. No surprises on either side. But Seth Lugo and Cole Reagans both finished top 5. Lugo finished runner-up. Cole Reagans was 4th in this one, just behind Emmanuel Clase, the closer from the Cleveland Guardians. So the Royals had 2 pitchers.
2 starters in the top 3.
In the top 3 of the Cy Young. Bobby's going to be runner-up, we presume, tonight. The manager was runner-up was Q. J.J. Picollo somehow didn't win Executive of the Executive of the Year. It's just like this whole thing is pretty funny in a way to step back and discuss the acquisitions and what the cost was to acquire 2 of the pitchers we just discussed, Lugo and Reagans, and yet it's not good enough for Executive of the Year.
More time is needed to push him higher up this list, but I can confidently say right now, J.J. Picollo is a top 10 GM in baseball. Show me an argument on the opposite side of it. He works with less resources than 90% of the rest of baseball, and he got 2 top 5 finishers in the AL Cy Young on one, a below league market deal, like not market deal for what he was owed, but below market of what a normal starter gets in baseball, and the other guy he got for 3 months of Aroldis Chapman. Those are the guys who just finished 2 in the top 4 of the MLB Cy Young. He added Cotrero after taking over for Dayton Moore. And I think the underrated part of this is he brought in Brian Sweeney. He found a capable pitching coach to make a difference on this. So, he's a top 10 GM in baseball right now. It is kind of stupid he didn't win Executive of the Year. I'm sorry, just real quick. So, just all these, 2nd and 4th in the Cy Young, runner-up for Manager of the Year, went from 56 wins to a playoff team. I'm just real quick.
Again, the Brewers Executive won.
What does it take in order to get the award?
People were asking on the text line who actually won Executive of the Year. A couple weeks ago, it was announced it was the Brewers Executive.
And the Brewers won 1 more game than they did last year?
Correct. They did lose a star player.
We discussed it. Star player, and there was a thought they were going to have a huge drop-off, and they didn't, and then they still won the division. But yes, this is why any of the awards markets, whether we're talking NFL MVP or Major League Baseball MVP, all this stuff, when you have not computers spitting out, just results space, and when you have humans factoring in to the voting process, you're going to have some bizarre ballots that come out. And we saw that with what's his name being left off. Q was left off somebody's ballot the other night for Manager of the Year, which how do you even leave him off the ballot? I am fascinated a little bit of just where the votes look like tonight for Bobby Witt Jr., even though we all know he's probably going to be runner-up. But just, is it unanimous? Does somebody out there give him, the 3rd place votes instead of 2nd? He should have no votes other than 1st or 2nd tonight. Aaron Judge should obviously probably only have 1st place votes.
I guarantee you that if you made a national person put together a list right now of the best general managers in all of baseball, I bet national people wouldn't have JJ in the top 10. And it's a mistake because
I'd be lying if I told you I can name more than 5 GMs in baseball.
Besides Cashman or Chris Young.
It's hard for me to. It's hard for me to judge other GMs because I don't really know the names.
But just base it on team.
Yeah.
Who are the teams that have the most success given the resources? All right, fine. You want to put the Dodgers guy in there because while he has all the resources in the entire world, he certainly takes advantage of it. But tell me how Brian Cashman is doing a better job than J.J. Piccolo. He has every single available resource to him on the entire planet. That man can't even, he got to 2 World Series, 3 World Series. I guess he got into 3 World Series. In the most recent year, doesn't have any wins. Like, and I get it, J.J. Piccolo doesn't either, certainly. But considering the resources and the win totals, I don't know, he's doing a better job, at least on that end. Like, some of this is just, and this is why it's hard in baseball versus, like, the NFL, everyone's playing with the same resources. Easy to rank the GMs. Who are the GMs who are having the most success? And somebody's going to be like, well, the one thing you judge them on is, can you keep winning without a star quarterback, right? Because if you're winning with a star quarterback, ooh, kudos, you did it. But, like, we can all see if you're good at late-round drafting, if you're good at signing extensions that don't go south, all the things that come in there. Right now, JJ's biggest miss as a general manager, as the person in charge of the Kansas City Royals, Hunter Renfroe? Like what's the single biggest miss for him? Asa Lacy? And I actually think that was Dayton. So not even that one. So it's hard right now because the most impressive thing to me to JJ right now is there's no big misses. Some free agent deal that blew up in their face. No draft pick so far that is blown up in his face. I understand he's part of the previous regime. I am judging him for the time that he was the general manager of the Kansas, and he was the person in charge.
Overall, what should matter most about this entire conversation, and when we mentioned Lugo and Reagan's finishing top 5, and just what we're discussing with JJ and the decision-making process and what they have, is that this should make you just feel good about future decisions down the road. And ultimately,
we should just feel good rather than care what they think.
Leading you to believe that this is a team that can sustain success, that they have the right people in place to continue to evaluate big league talent, and hopefully eventually we're going to find out that they're evaluating through the draft as well. It's too early in the process to find out if this regime is hitting on draft picks yet. We're not. It's a couple years away from us really finding that out and developing pitching at the minor league level. But at the big league level, it's very clear. This is a much improved organization. Trade that clearly is another sign that at the big league level, evaluating talent, they know what they're doing there. That should give you confidence heading into 2025 and beyond that this group is not only on the right track, but you got the right people, period, in place.
Trash of the day.
All right, let's get to this. Has to do with a Florida man, of course. Been a bit since we were down there.
It's been a little while since we did a Florida man trash of the day.
Yeah,
it was a feel-good one yesterday.
So it was. This one's pretty simple. It just has to do with a burglary in Florida, Polk County. Man was arrested last week. He burglarized a home, and burglarizing the home.
Wait, sorry, what?
Yeah.
Not the guy who broke in?
No, he was attacked in his home. So, why did he get arrested? Well, no matter what the circumstance is, if you're going to call the police, you might not want to leave the cocaine sitting out around the house. Might not want to do that.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude. So he called the police because someone broke into his house, but he just got all this cocaine sitting out?
Yeah.
Oh.
Somebody, it was actually initially a 14-year-old kicked in this gentleman's door and hit him with a red broom handle, prompting this gentleman to call 911. When they were investigating and processing the crime scene inside the home, they came across cocaine in plain view. He confessed, he was arrested, and both burglary and battery charges are felonies for the kid, but this guy got charged with possession of cocaine and drug paraphernalia.
That is...
So you get robbed, you get beat up, and unfortunately you left the cocaine out. You know?
I'll just tell you right now, if you're regularly committing your own crimes, you can't really report other people's crimes. You gotta chill. Because
so you're saying just take your L and get beaten in the face with a
in the last 12 hours in your house, you were doing cocaine, you got to just take the L. Fix the door.
You are
get to the hardware store. Or at least clean up first, something.
You're acting like, though, that, and I don't know if he was under the influence at the time, but someone that has cocaine in plain view is thinking straight in that moment. That's the problem here.
I better clean up my cocaine and go put it away for a minute.
Now, I can't speak from experience. I don't know how the mind works in that moment.
We've already discussed those. I've had my house broken into one time.
Drew, can you speak from experience? Does it change your judgment at all? You know?
No, I cannot speak from experience.
I would just say in general, if we were going to generalize it, I think drugs probably alter your current state
So
of
maybe, just maybe, he wasn't thinking right when he got beat up and didn't think that before I call the police, I should move the cocaine off the table.
Did it say whether the 14-year-old wanted cocaine.
No, I
Did he break in for his
I,
gun?
that I do not
That's
know.
what I'm
I don't
saying.
know what the motive is or was.
Hey, at least he didn't pin it on the kid. You know that he didn't deserve it. I'd be like, that was his cocaine. He broke in here and left all this cocaine here. It's crazy.
What? So
that's where he got all the energy to hit me with his broom.
The kid broke into the house, did a line of cocaine, and hit me with the broom handle. That's what you're. That's
I'm just saying, he could have done that and probably somewhat gotten away with it because it would have been he's already been assaulted in his own home, a somewhat believable storyline. But I'm glad he didn't.
From the 913, I've never thought more clearly than I'm on.
Someone said that cocaine must not be very good. No way a 14-year-old is getting the best of me if I'm on coke.
Someone says, who calls the cops while they're doing drugs? That's the point, exactly.
I'm sure
not
this
smart.
is not the first time a drug dealer's been like, they robbed me. And they're like, what do they rob you of? All of my drugs and money.
Oh, we've had those
and
before.
you're like, come on, man. Cops can't help you.
Yeah,
you're doing illegal activity.
We've had that tragedy the day before where someone absolutely called the cops and said that somebody robbed them when they were trying to buy drugs from them. We've definitely had those. That's the trash of the day. Up next, we'll take a deeper look at what's remaining ahead for the Chiefs schedule-wise, what is actually the toughest. Plus, former Chiefs wide receiver Danan Hughes is going to tell us how a player might approach a game like this when everybody from the outside knows Carolina is a lesser opponent.
Cody and Gold.
I didn't sleep well. I was drunk.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. 96.5, The Fan.
I think if you can tell anything based on the weather today, you can tell winter weather is coming, which could mean damage to your roof. Or at the very least, you don't want snow sitting up there, letting things leak through. Make sure your roof is okay and call Century Roofing. Whether it's those damaging winds that came through 2 days ago, the hail that came over the summer, maybe you saw your neighbor get a new roof and you're like, man, do I need a new roof? If they qualified through their insurance, you probably qualify too. They'll give you a free repair estimate, a free roof replacement estimate. They'll work with your insurance company. At Century Roofing, they've done 30,000 roofs in the Kansas City area and have been doing work in the Kansas City area for 34 years. So contact Century Roofing prior to filing a claim so the experts can confirm that enough damage exists. That's what you want to do. And work with a local company. I've said that a million times, but it really does matter. Work with someone who Johnson County voted best in Kansas City, or best in Johnson County 3 years in a row. It's the kind of company you can trust because they're local and continue to do great local work. Schedule your estimate today from KC Basin, female-owned Century Roofing. Trust the pillars of strength. Go to centuryroofingkc.com.
Kansas City is Sean Barber. You know there's nothing easier than to enjoy watching the Chiefs with some wings and an ice-cold Bud Light. And Buffalo Wild Wings is serving up both for every game, all season long. Join me at the Buffalo Wild Wings, North Avenue and 71 Highway in Belton, Friday, November 22nd. I'll be there from 6 to 8 p.m. celebrating the back-to-back Super Bowl champs while eating some wings and drinking $5 Bud Lights. Nothing easier to enjoy than that. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
For more, go to 965thefan.com. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Your attention is precious. Pulled in a million directions for a million different reasons. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City works hard to make sure your health insurance isn't one of the many things distracting you from what's important. By making healthcare easier to navigate, we help keep your focus on the moments that matter most. Like dinner with loved ones. Letting you focus on you. That's the benefit of Blue. Learn more at bluekc.com.
Have you or a loved one been diagnosed with cancer? You want the most knowledgeable physicians with the latest technology. That's KCPI, the Kansas City Proton Institute. KCPI has a full suite of the most advanced imaging and treatment technology necessary to localize high-intensity proton beams. That's a critical part of maximizing cure rates while minimizing recovery time and long-term side effects. Proton therapy provides patients with the most advanced form of radiation treatments for cancer. It destroys cancer cells with supreme accuracy, reducing the risk of harmful side effects. KCPI has Kansas City's first and only system that uses pencil beam technology, resulting in precision targeting and less radiation to your surrounding healthy tissue. Proton therapy is now available in the comfort of an office at KCPI, making it more efficient and affordable than a hospital. So contact KCPI for the most knowledgeable physicians with the latest technology. Don't wait. Get precision technology with the highest safety measures with KCPI. Online at kcpi.com.
The NBA is back, and FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, wants you to catch all the action. Right now, FanDuel is giving all users 3 months of NBA League Pass. All you have to do to catch every tip-off and buzzer beater is place any $5 bet on the NBA. And who isn't excited to watch the Lakers this year with LeBron and Bronny playing together? If you're new to FanDuel, just visit FanDuel.com/610Bob to get 3 months of NBA League Pass courtesy of FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA and of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. After 3-month free trial, the full price of League Pass will be automatically charged monthly. Cancel anytime. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Limit 1 pass per customer. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Hey investors, this is JD again with Crossroads Investment Lending. Still wanting to get in that fix and flip game? Don't have the money? Maybe you've always wanted to get yourself a rental property. We can help you get in the door. Call the fix and flip guys at Crossroads Investment Lending, 913-766-2900, or go to kclend.com. That's kclend.com. Get started in the fix and flip game. What are you waiting for? That's Crossroads Investment Lending, 913-766-2900 or kclend.com.
I'm Brian Tedesco, CEO of Blaupunkt Americas, the pioneers of the car stereo. Today, we're not just about sound systems. We are revolutionizing the e-bike scene with Blue Dot Bike. Thanks to AmericanEagle.com, our online presence now features a dynamic e-commerce website that showcases the quality and affordability of our foldable e-bikes. And our collegiate e-bikes, just perfect for the college fanatic. These e-bikes offer a new way to experience freedom on 2 wheels, no matter your age. When we needed a top-notch website to match our cutting-edge e-bikes, we turned to AmericanEagle.com. They made the impossible seem easy, tackling digital challenges like pros. Check out the Blue Dot Bike website to see AmericanEagle.com's amazing work in action. Need the best in website and digital marketing solutions? AmericanEagle.com is your go-to. They've been a game changer for us, and they can be for you too. Visit AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW-1. That's 877-WEB-NOW-1.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-583-5795. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-583-5795. That's 800-583-5795. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Listen to the Chiefs and Panthers game on Sunday with pregame starting at 9, kickoff at noon with Mitch, Danan, and Kling, right here on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan, KFNZ FM and AM HD1 and HD2, Kansas City, in Odyssey Sports Station.
11 o'clock hour here on a Thursday. Cody and Gold hanging out with you. Coming up in about 15 minutes, Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver, will be in Charlotte right here on 96.5 The Fan on the call with Mitch Holthus, Josh Klingler, Dan Israel, Chiefs Panthers. He's going to join us in just a bit. Also a little bit later on today, as I said, in the 1 o'clock hour, it's a Snitch Line Thursday. Haven't done it in a bit. It's that time right before the holiday week next week. Thanksgiving, obviously. Everybody's going to start being out of town, traveling and everything. So this seems like a good week to do a Snitch Line Thursday, something that you've been meaning to get off your chest, something you saw around the workplace, something maybe you've been doing that you just need to let everybody know anonymously. Again, it's all anonymous on the text line. You can even call in if you want.
Maybe there's been something you've been wanting to tell your family about, but you're not sure you should tell them before the holidays, and you want to suss it out here.
Okay.
That's the Snitch Line can do all of those things for you.
That's coming up around 1:15, 913-586-7965. Before we talk with Danan Hughes, though, looking ahead past this week, admittedly, past Carolina, what do you think between week 12 and 18 is actually the toughest remaining game? Because I actually think it's pretty simple now. You would have asked me this 3 weeks ago, I would have had a completely different answer.
I know. That's what's crazy about this guy. That's why I like it now.
But
it's the Panthers. Is that your answer?
It is not. It's a road game at Pittsburgh. And it's not because I think the Steelers are more likely to go to a Super Bowl now necessarily, but I think we have seen enough evidence of Pittsburgh, and they'll play tonight on Thursday night, by the way, against Cleveland. We've seen enough evidence that this Steelers team, they're a tough out. In a head-to-head matchup, one-on-one, they're a tough out. We know they're well coached. That game at Pittsburgh, it's on the road, of course. It's on Christmas. It's in the middle of that weird stretch of a bunch of games, 3 games in 17 days or whatever, Cleveland, Houston, Pittsburgh. I think that is the toughest game left on the schedule because of all those factors.
So I was really torn on this, and I think this is what makes it an interesting question. It was asked over at Arrowhead Pride, and so I think they list off the only 4 that can be the answer. Chargers, Texans, at Steelers, at Broncos. Obviously, the other ones, like, we're not taking Raiders and Panther, whatever. Those aren't going to be in the conversation. I don't think it can be the Texans. There's a time in which I can enter that conversation if for some reason Will Anderson came back and looked like a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Nico Collins came back and looked like the leading wide maybe, right? Maybe. But right now, that is not entering the conversation. I think the answer is the Broncos. And you're like, but how? The Denver Broncos, a team that may not even make the playoffs? I think they are the single worst matchup on paper for the Chiefs. Because they are so good in the trenches on the offensive defensive line, they are a direct bad matchup for Kansas City. It is a road game. It is a road divisional game. Those things factor in for me. The Chargers, I thought, that game's at home. They played them a little bit better than they played the Broncos. The Steelers on Christmas Day, I would certainly entertain. It would probably be second on my list, Gold. But I'll actually take at the Broncos. The only hesitation I would have is maybe the starters aren't in that game.
That's why.
But I'm just saying, as an opponent, if there was one game and everybody had to play, the Broncos would actually be my answer.
That's the only reason why I didn't consider at Denver at all, because we're not going to know until the week of if that actually is a tough matchup, because the 1 seed could be wrapped up, or we could know that the Chiefs simply can't have the 1 seed by then, one way or the other. And so if it's Carson Wentz, then the matchup doesn't matter. I know the Pittsburgh game is going to be a big game. Like that, I definitively know that, all the circumstances that go into it. The Chargers, I hear you, but as I said in the first hour of the show, and maybe it'll be proven wrong on Monday night, I don't know, in the Hardball Bowl against the Ravens, I think the Chargers are like ultimate peak love and attention right now.
Hype now, right? They'd be an easy answer. Like, I could see why someone might say that.
If they go and beat Baltimore, then I have to view the Chargers differently. I know they're a playoff team, but I think we're overinflating the Chargers. They still haven't beat anybody. They beat the Bengals on Sunday Night Football, and that's a 4-win football team. So my answer is, I think it's pretty obvious. It's at Pittsburgh for me. Text line, where are you guys at? 913-586-7965. Someone says Chargers. Somebody else says that's week 18. The Broncos thing game won't matter. That's kind of where I'm at.
TJ Watt is a legitimate fear from David. Yeah. That's not wrong. Like, if you think about their tackle situation, anybody who has an elite level pass rusher in the outside should scare you.
Fair.
So the Browns and the Steelers,
those teams, the Steelers. But the Browns, it's like, they're just not a serious team.
They've lost their last 2 games, 17, 21 points.
Those 3 teams can't be the answer for the most difficult game remaining. Not that they can't propose a challenge.
I know the Browns lost last week, but Jameis threw for 345 yards in that.
That's typical Jameis stuff, though. You know what I mean?
I just think because a lot of people have pointed to this game, Sunday being a quote-unquote trap game or one that they could look on. I think the Browns game potentially is as well, because, Jameis could have one of those days where he throws 3 picks, 4 touchdowns, 400 yards on us. Not that he's going to do that against the Chiefs defense, but he's known to do that, and their defense is salty. I don't know if there's any extra motivation for Myles Garrett to try and get his sack numbers because he's going up against Patrick Mahomes or not, but that might be a team that has that elite pass rusher, I guess, who could just turn up for that one.
I don't think that'll be like this super easy game, but if we're in the context of the conversation, toughest remaining, Houston, Pittsburgh, Denver, Chargers, it's hard to put Cleveland anywhere near those teams.
It's got to be the Steelers, I think.
Yeah, I think it's kind of evident right now that game, no matter what happens the next 4 games before then, 5 games before then, I don't know how that won't be a massive game. It's also on Christmas. It's on the road. And the Steelers, the way they're trending right now, they might be a 12-win football team going to that game.
It could be. But, the Chargers are a 7-win team now. So,
Yeah, and I just think they're going to lose on Monday night. And so, to me, they're going to be like an 8 or 9-win team when they play the Chiefs. But we'll see.
I understand, the idea. I'm not, again, the Steelers would be my second answer. So, I'm not here to tell you that I think for some reason that's not a fair representation. Because for the same reasons, I guess the biggest hang up, and another reason to consider the Chargers is, if I gave you those 4 teams and I had you rank the quarterbacks 1 through 4
Oh, well, sure.
of scariest, Herbert's one, right? Like based on the way they're playing right
CJ Stroud. Based on how they're playing, Herbert had one impressive half against the.
He's also had a few years stacked up of some good numbers.
But this goes. I mean, what you just said though is kind of my point. Not you specifically, but the sentence you said is where I think everybody is at now, and why I think the hype has gotten a little out of control on the Chargers. Justin Herbert in the first half against Cincinnati was incredible. He was perfect. He was incredible. And then they also gave up a 21-point lead, and they didn't score any points until they had a field goal with the walk-off J.K. Dobbins touchdown. They didn't do anything offensively in the second half against Cincinnati, who had a terrible defense. So I hear you. Coming off of last week, who had the better week? Of course, it was Herbert. In general, I don't know. Stroud, of course, is not playing at the exact same level as he was a year ago. I still think, who scares me in 2024, given weapons? Herbert's throwing to Ladd McConkey and Joshua Palmer and Quentin Johnston. I think C.J. Stroud throwing to Nico Collins and Tank Dell is more impressive. But that's just where I'm at on it. So as it sits
right now, swear to God, these offenses are almost identical. Houston is the highest ranked of the 4 teams we just mentioned at 23.5 points per game. Pittsburgh ranks 15th in the NFL, 23.3. The Chargers rank 18th in the NFL at 22. Yeah. And Denver ranks 20th at 21.4. They are, by all functionality, identical ranked offenses of similar skill sets, right? So then when you're asking yourself the question, like if you just consider them equals and you say offensively they're all just kind of a wash, and you start getting into defense, well, all 3 of them are top 3 defenses in the league. They're the number 1, number 2, and number 3 defense in the league. So that's how you eliminate the Texans. Like by all accounts, this is why this is a fun conversation. These are the same 3 teams. Like, I mean, just hear me out for a minute. They all play elite level defense, giving up less than 17 points per game. They all score, and I'm not kidding, between 22 and 23.5 points per game. They are and they all have quarterbacks who we might think could be really good down the road, but are all playing average level football by NFL starting quarterback standards. By all accounts, they might be the same.
All right, let's go out to the hotline here on 96.5 The Fan and welcome in former Chiefs wide receiver Danan Hughes. As we said, he'll be in Charlotte Sunday afternoon, noon kickoff, right here on 96.5 The Fan. Our conversations with Danan brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue. I guess I'll ask you what we were just discussing, looking ahead a little bit, and I know that's tough as a former player, and in fact, I want to get your mindset on how that is for players in a game against Carolina, but what is the toughest remaining game on the schedule, do you think? I said it's still at Pittsburgh on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that's a great question because I think Pittsburgh comes to mind, Houston coming here. I'm sure there'll be a lot on the line for them as far as seeding purposes and maybe for us as well. So, that Bills game kind of puts a little bit more emphasis, I guess, or maybe a stronger exclamation point on some of these matchups as we get down the stretch. And then who knows, we may be in spoiler position as well later in the season when we have Denver, to knock out a team like that plays us extremely tough. Could bode well for us in that last week of the season if we're playing for something, and obviously they'll be playing for something as well. So, I mean, it's as far as importance, as far as tough games, you kind of never know about the toughness of a game because injuries come into play, and heck, Cleveland could be a tough game based on where we're at from an injury standpoint that game. So. I feel as important is probably the best word to slot in there. And Pittsburgh, Houston, the Chargers could definitely be one of the more impactful games coming up. If they continue to play like they're playing, they're kind of the team that I've talked to you guys about in previous weeks in regards to being a team that's on the ascension that hadn't really arrived early, but they seem to be hitting their stride, and they got a lot of confidence. So that game, even though it's at home, could be one of those games as well. So Pittsburgh does come to mind, but I'm not going to sleep on Chargers and the Texans.
take me inside the mind of a player when you had a week like the Chiefs had on Sunday. They lose to Buffalo, tough game, likely going to play them again. That seemed to be the mindset in the locker room is like, hey, we'll see you in January kind of thing. Now you play Carolina, and from the outside, everybody's saying, hey, this Panthers team stinks, and everybody knows what their record is. How do you handle that as a player, knowing that you're coming off a loss and knowing that everybody just assumes you're going to destroy this team on Sunday?
Well, it's a unique mindset because it's actually different than the general fan and probably a lot of the media, because you're so conditioned to be in routine, to respect your opponents, to respect any opportunity on any given Sunday that you can be beat. And I'm sure Andy Reid, he's been around this league a long time. He knows what to say. He's been down this road before, has probably had several losses on his resume against teams that were significantly worse than them as far as stats and record. And then that's where the reality comes in. So if you are a leader on this team, if you're one of the coaches, they have to have stories. Heck, I have stories from when we played teams that were significantly worse than us and we wind up losing. So each of them can tap into that, and it's about keeping it normal. We're creatures of routine. The Wednesday practice is the Wednesday practice. The Thursday practice is the same. Friday and the walkthrough on Saturday, it's all the same, whether you're playing a top team in the NFL or you're playing a team that's fledgling that's probably going to be battling for a number 1 or number 2 pick in the draft, because you know the feeling and you remember the feeling of, yeah, we didn't take that team for granted, but they came in and whooped our butt, or we didn't cross all the T's and dot the I's like we should have back in 2010 when we lost to that team and they came in and they gave us the business. So, I feel like these coaches can tap back into that, and players very impressionable. As much as we want to say these guys have their own spirit, they have their own personality, their own character, you can dial into a player pretty easily and not manipulate them, but also, kind of infiltrate their brain to make them understand stronger what the matter at hand is versus just overlooking them and looking to the next team. That's the Raiders on Black Friday.
Dan, I want to make this clear that this is not something I say often, and I understand how the league is a very close league for a variety of reasons, and that's what makes it the best sport. This should be an ass-kicking, right? They are far superior to the Panthers?
So there's two different questions you had there. They are far superior than the Panthers, but as far as what kind of ass-kicking it is, I will never, ever, ever say that a blowout should happen in the NFL, because there's grown men with families and getting paid on the other side. I've been around this league since 1993. This is not college. This is not, University of Alabama playing Arkansas Pine Bluff. It's not. It's the NFL, and they got some players over there. Josie Jewell is over there. They got Joe Horn's son over there, who I played with here in Kansas City. They got some players over there, and they got something to prove. If for no other reason, and we've always said this, we said this over the last 2 years specifically, every team that we play, it's their Super Bowl. What better example of it actually being the Super Bowl for a team than the Carolina Panthers, who hasn't been anywhere near there since Cam Newton was the quarterback? So, if they're ever in their hometown, in their stadium, going to be up for one game, it's not the Atlanta Falcons, it's not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's not, the New Orleans Saints in their division. It's going to be the Chiefs, who they play once every 4 years and don't play on their home field there necessarily once every 4 years. So you got to expect that you're going to get the absolute best, especially with them coming after a bye. You're going to get the absolute best from that team. Now, could that still equate to a blowout? It's possible, but I would not be surprised to see this game be closer than what a lot of people think, and then hopefully we can pull away and it be a 2-score game at the end.
We're talking to Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver. He, of course, is part of the Chiefs radio network. You'll hear him on the call, along with Mitch Holthus, Dan Israel, Josh Klingler on 96.5 The Fan. Noon kickoff pregame begins at 9 against Carolina. I feel like every week we ask you about Xavier Worthy and, how close are they? last week was another example where they were able to get him open down the field. That has not been a problem, Dana. He's gotten open, but it's always, maybe not knowing the field awareness. Maybe Mahomes is also a little off. What are you seeing, and do you agree that it seems like it's closer than ever for them to connect on one of these?
Oh, absolutely. I think the biggest thing, if you ask any NFL player, specifically a wide receiver that's ever played, that is currently playing, they will tell you the toughest thing to do in the NFL is get open. That's the toughest thing to do is get open.
He didn't have that problem.
Whether the quarterback finds you on those times you get open, or it's designed to go somewhere else and you got open anyway, the toughest thing to get open. So if you're talking about the hurdles of a rookie campaign for Xavier Worthy in this offense, he's already knocked down one of the first ones. I would say in this offense, it's absorbing the offense, it's getting the trust of Patrick Mahomes, and then it's getting open. He's already got all three of those covered. Now it's just got to be fine-tuning the wide receiver skills. And some of those is strength, it's field awareness, it is understanding the schemes, not necessarily just the plays, and that's different. And I mean, we could have a whole 1 week show on schemes versus plays. Why are you running a route this way? Why do we expect you to be in this place? What does your depth at 14 yards mean for Travis Kelce, who's running a route at 8 yards? If you ran it at 10 yards, you might be too close to him. If you run it at 16, you might be too far away. You run it at 14, that's the perfect mesh so that Travis is open or you're open and Patrick has options. So the scheme is different than just running routes. Having said that, I love Patrick and I love his leadership and I love his willingness to take the blame in part for some of this stuff. But as a former wide receiver, and this is not a knock to Xavier Worthy at all, he's got to know where he's got to be on the field. He has to know his presence on the field, especially as you get closer to the sideline. And that's something that's fixable. I know we've seen it on a couple of occasions this season so far, but it's his rookie campaign. That is absolutely something that is fixable, and I believe Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, Connor Embry, they're going to address it, and hopefully it doesn't show itself the rest of this season, but it's absolutely something that will be worked on during the offseason where we won't see this again.
Dana, they were limited participants yesterday, so we don't know whether or not they're going to be available, but who do you expect to have a bigger impact the rest of the season, Isaiah Pacheco or Charles Omenihu?
Charles Omenihu. I feel like we are, as well as George Karlaftis is playing, and obviously Chris Jones is a beast, our sack numbers are down, and we got to be better in that position. We're 27th in the NFL right now with just 19 sacks. I feel like if for no other reason than that, Charles Omenihu's presence, and he showed this last year when he came back from his suspension, especially in the playoffs, one of the bigger defensive plays against the Ravens was by his arm, literally. So I feel like with his presence and his ability to play inside and outside, and conversely how we're running the ball with Kareem Hunt, not saying that we're not missing Isaiah Pacheco, but if you're talking about impact, I would say Charles Omenihu could make a major impact. A guy that's hungry, coming off an injury, wants to prove his worth, wants to prove that he's a playmaker. I think opposing offenses, specifically the tackles, better watch out.
Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver. You got players only tonight, right? 6 o'clock?
Yes, sir. Players only tonight. I will be in the building, and we'll have some fun. We got some hot fire takes. We'll have the text lines and the phone lines open as well, and then I'll be with Barbershop and J.C. Pearson tomorrow night at Buffalo Wild Wings in Belton as we take on the fan football show there. So 2 nights in a row, you're going to hear me on the airwaves. It's going to be fun.
There we go. Safe travels out to Charlotte as well. We'll be listening on Sunday. Appreciate it.
All right, fellas.
There you go. That's Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver. And, players only tonight, 6 o'clock. And then tomorrow night out in Belton, a little fan football Friday show.
He makes a lot of good points on the Worthy stuff. Because, again, I think Mahomes is taking some of the heat. Because, I had someone, like a respected person, I think, on Video Film Breakdown, where Worthy also messed up on that route that I had not thought about from a wide receiver's perspective, which is what he's talking about, the depth. Whereas when his guy blew the coverage, he's supposed to go deeper. These adjustments, he's a rookie. Now, it's week 11. We're going into week 12. So, like, week 12 starts tonight. So it's like, I'd have liked all of those to be solved by now. That's not normally how rookie seasons work. But the good news is for the Chiefs, and they might be the only team in the league that gets to work with this luxury, is I don't care how many problems you have to solve, just as long as you solve them by January 1st.
Well, of course.
January 15th. Like,
right.
There's so many things I can forgive, just as long as you're solving some of those problems by the time we hit that.
For sure. It's about the postseason. I also think, you were asking about the blowout or ass kicking or whatever on Sunday. More than anything else, like, obviously I would like them to cover the 10.5. I have a bet on the Chiefs minus 10.5. But if we're being real about the situation, coming out of this game, if they have the connection to Worthy one time, that might be bigger than any score, other than making sure you win, right? Like, whether it's a 1-point win or 20-point win. If Mahomes and Worthy connect, that is huge. If the Chiefs get pressure from the front four, even against a team like Carolina, without having to blitz, that is huge for the development of where things are trending. Can Najee Johnson have a big bounce-back performance, shutting down Leggett or Thielen, however they're going to match up? Like, I'm not sure. Those are the things that matter more to me than is it a 4-point win or a 17-point win on Sunday.
That's the difference between this game and the other one. I knew every single Bills player was playing. I'm like, hasn't Thielen been out?
He has been hurt this year, yes.
He's played like 3 games. I don't even think he's back yet. I don't even think he's been practicing.
So it's Leggett, and that's about it.
Well, they traded away the other guys.
Yep, Mingo's gone.
So,
Johnson's gone.
The last game he played was September 22nd. So they're getting Jonathan Brooks back. I saw that.
First time in his career, debut.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, was he good? Was he like a 3rd-round pick?
Out of Texas.
Was he good in college?
Very good at Texas.
Yeah.
Very good at Texas.
They've been starting to pump out some. Texas has always pumped out good running backs.
Just seems like they're on a hot streak lately.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
They're tied in. We'll be back to that conversation. Jatavian Sanders will probably have some yardage for the Panthers, and who cares?
Bink loves him.
Oh, no! Oh, I know. He really
loves
Jatavian
Sanders.
I'm going to get a text from Bink about Tommy Trimble here pretty soon, I'm sure, too.
Oh.
That's
a name we haven't heard in a while.
That was a name when he was coming out of the draft. I got a lot of texts.
I'm not even kidding. I don't know who that is.
You do. You do.
I do?
Yeah,
you sure?
Bink,
I think he's been in a couple mock drafts.
Back when he came out from Notre Dame, there was
Trimble.
Yeah, when he was coming out of college from Notre Dame, that was a name that Bink was talking a lot
name.
about at the time.
Well, he's also a tight end.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
Okay.
He has 9 catches this year.
6'4", 250. Are we sure he doesn't play tackle? Guard?
Big individual.
Man.
All right, up next, Chiefs Red Half Hour. We'll talk about what has happened for 2 straight weeks offensively for Kansas City next.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
There is no better time to buy a car over at Volkswagen Lee Summit because it's winter clearance time, offering their biggest discounts on the year. You can get up to $8,000 off Atlas and Atlas Crossport, $5,000 off MSRP on 24 Jettas, Taos, and Tiguans. It's a great time to get a deal, and because the discounts have never been bigger, they won't be bigger this year. It's the best prices all year at Volkswagen Lee Summit. Look, I bought my car there 6 months ago or so. I've been thrilled, man. Best car of my life. I'm not making that up. I bought the car because I driven a Volkswagen before. I went to 1,000 dealerships. I wasn't sure what kind of car. I was looking around. I was shopping other models, makes, years, dealerships, and I settled on Volkswagen Lee Summit. They made the buying process easy. They showed me the kind of cars I was interested in. They didn't try to mess around. You know this is. You go to car dealership, you feel like you're taking advantage. No, that was nothing like that. They were great to deal with from the very beginning and are still great to deal with as I go get those, free oil changes for getting my car as well. If you want those deals or a 0% APR deal, sign then drive leases, all of those things are possible. My kids love my car. You can love your new car, and you can get it at Volkswagen Lee Summit. So head over there. Don't miss out. Great used cars as well and new cars. Go to VWLeeSummit.com.
Men, we hear it all the time. A man comes in to get his erectile dysfunction treated, and very soon thereafter, he tells us that his relationship is renewed. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and you should know that ED doesn't just affect you, it also often affects your partner. They can feel undesired, unwanted, they may even feel like you don't love them anymore. At Heartland Men's Health, we've successfully treated thousands of men for ED with protocols that have success rates well over 90%, which means if you're like most men, we can get you back to the guy you used to be. You could even last up to an hour or more and find you're performing like you haven't in years. So call us today and give your partner the gift of renewed love. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in our office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600. That's 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. That's heartlandmenshealth.com. Heartland Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
The difference between real custom jewelry at House of Diamonds and so-called custom jewelry elsewhere is like the difference between painting on a blank canvas versus paint by numbers. This is Gene at House of Diamonds. In our store, you don't pick from a collection of designs. Choose from a list of options. Send it off to who knows where for 6 weeks to be tweaked and call it custom. At House of Diamonds, you and we together design and create a one-of-a-kind custom ring, pendant, earrings, or necklace. And since 100% of the work from start to finish is done right here in our shop, we can deliver real custom jewelry and can back it with a double lifetime warranty instead of a disclaimer. One-of-a-kind real custom jewelry, handcrafted just for you, only at House of Diamonds. House of Diamonds on the southeast corner of College and Quivira. And online at mybigrock.com.
This football season, the best place to watch the game is Johnny's Tavern. Tons of TVs, tons of fans, and cold Yingling beer. You could win big. Scan the QR code at any Johnny's Tavern to enter for a chance to win a tailgate prize pack and the grand prize. All thanks to you, Yingling. Win a hosted party at the Johnny's Tavern of your choice. Each location will have a winner, so don't miss out. Grab your friends, grab a Yingling, and get in on the action. Only at Johnny's Tavern, in partnership with 96.5 The Fan, your home for football, fun, and Yingling. Must be 21 plus to enter.
Hey, Chiefs Kingdom, as the official whiskey sponsor of the NFL, it's not a kickoff without the generous spirit of Crown Royal. And that's why we've built the Crown Royal Rig, an absurdly awesome 18-wheeler delivering the generous spirit to stadiums and tailgates across the country. Follow the Royal Rig on its journey from city to city, bringing together local cuisine, NFL legends, and the opportunity to pack a purple bag for charity and win tickets to Super Bowl 59. Visit crownroyal.com for rules and more. Please drink responsibly.
This Thanksgiving at Total Wine and More, find bourbons and Cabernets that you adore.
With curbside pickup available and the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
This Thanksgiving at Total Wine and More, find bourbons and Cabernets that you adore.
With curbside pickup available and the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Shop Dell Technologies Black Friday event for their lowest prices of the year. The future is on sale today with limited time deals on select PCs like the XPS 16 that accelerate AI with Intel Core Ultra processors. Black Friday is their biggest sale of the year and the best time to upgrade, but it's only here for a limited time. Shop now at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie, and one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it becomes a little more your own. So you need all your jobs done well. For nearly 30 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrades. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away, so the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Arvest Bank, believing in the power of serving others.
Arvest Bank believes in the power of serving others. That's why we're committed to supporting those who serve our communities. We believe that all communities deserve a financial partner who cares. Arvest. We believe.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get to a kind of a strange story. The NFL is now sending out alerts about it. It's a follow-up on what's going on with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes and the whole robbery stuff. Just bizarre. Anyway, some new details on that we'll get to in about 10, 15 minutes or so. But for the last 2 weeks, just as I had applauded the Chiefs the week before, like honestly, 3 weeks ago, I applauded them for something. I said, wow, this is a really good sign. Maybe they've adjusted something about how they're willing to go back to the run and not abandon it, Cody. And then the last 2 weeks, I feel like maybe they've given up on the run early. Now, in fairness, the two defenses they have faced in terms of against the run, not terrible.
No,
the Bills not as strong as the Broncos by any means against the run, but maybe that's part of the equation here. But it feels like they've gotten back into that funk of, all right, ultimately we can't help ourselves. We want to pass the football. We can't. We got Patrick Mahomes. I get it. We got to pass the football. They 3 weeks ago only had 9 carries in the first half, and then they got back to it. That was the Bucs game. I guess it's been 3-4 weeks at this point. And that was a good sign. But against Denver and the Bills, I feel like they've abandoned it.
Both times. And so I guess what's frustrating is I think occasionally they're having kind of a hard time getting it going early because the truth is they do not rank very well in rushing per attempt. And we know that they love being a first and second down rushing team. And then just giving Mahomes free reign. And by the way, for the most part, that's worked. They are an incredibly successful third down efficiency offense. They're very good in that spot. So I understand why they have stuck to that model. But what we saw in the second half of the last 2 games is they're not running as much on first and second. And then they're fading back. And because their offensive line hasn't been perfect, they're getting themselves in some down and distances on second and third down, which I think are not advantageous for them considering their current weapon list. And so, yes, I would like to see them not give on the run. Now, I'll also say, I think that's going to change with Pacheco.
I mean,
Kareem Hunt is 26 in the NFL in yards per rushing attempt. Do we think Isaiah Pacheco, when he returns, the Chiefs are ranked 26th in yards per rushing attempt? I don't. I think at worst 15th, maybe better.
It definitely improves, but also the exciting part, and Andy was asked about what are you doing when they're both available? It's a good, and he says, like a good problem to have. Well, don't worry, we'll find a way to utilize both Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. And I take that as not only on the ground, but in the receiving game, the passing game. And that's to me where we're going to maybe see this offense look a little bit different once Pacheco is fully back in the fold. Because I think one thing that's been underutilized is not just, hey, lean on the run at times. It's been when this offense has looked their best, I really believe it's when they've been running the ball.
I think it's fairly obvious.
It's just very, very obvious. But also, whether and then even like we sometimes when we say like pass at the running back, we assume it has to be a screenplay. It doesn't have to be a screenplay. I would like that.
Have you not seen running backs catch the ball in the flat against Kansas City the last month? My God, it can definitely be somewhere that isn't a screen.
Exactly. Yeah. So like sometimes I think we always get in this thought of like, get them involved in the pass game. Do a screen. It doesn't have to be screens to Kareem Hunt or Pacheco. But I would have thought they would have used Pirine in the passing game more. That was the whole story when he got signed. We all thought that Pirine was going to be a Jerick McKinnon passing game type of replacement. Pirine had the 4th most receiving yards of backs in football a year ago in Denver. So that just hasn't played out the way we all thought. But when they have Pacheco and Kareem Hunt both available, I wonder if we'll see them involved in the passing game more, whether it's just in the flat or the story in camp. Let's not forget, when we were up in St. Joe, how much did we hear about whether it was from the Chiefs directly or, Barber would stop by our tent or whatever, and we would talk about, hey, they're lining up Pacheco in the slot. They're going to get him. He was working with receiving.
He grew a lot as a passer catcher year 1 to 2.
He was working with a receiving coach in the offseason. That was a huge thing, and then he got hurt very early on, so maybe that's still to come. But that we haven't seen. That's the other wrinkle of this offense. Are we going to see Pacheco in the slot like he was during training camp at times.
I don't know why I fall for it every time. Every time they open a window for a player and it's like, well, they could come back this week. It's never that week. It's always at least 1 week, maybe 2 full weeks later than you think. And I don't know. I let myself do it every time, and it's fine. I've just accepted it as part of the reality of the mistake I make in following this team for as many years as I have followed. But it's always like the week after you think, or 2 weeks after you think.
In fairness, I guess, it's a 21-day practice window. This is only the 14th day.
Sure. But I go back through. Pacheco's adding to this 26 horse, right? Because in that game against Baltimore, he had 15 carries for only 45 yards, only 3 yards per attempt. But in the first game against Cincinnati, 19 for 90 and almost 5 yards an attempt. And in his career, he is significantly better in yards per attempt than they are now, 4.6. And that includes the, rough one of 2 games he managed to play in this go round in the Baltimore game. And so I just think they will be back more committed to the run. And I think I still go back to the same thing. I think part of the reason they've backed off of this is because they can't run Kareem Hunt into the ground. And they still have plans for Kareem Hunt down the road, which means, sometimes we got to, let off the gas a little bit, go back to the passing game. He's been nursing an injury that's had him miss some practices here or there, all the little things. And some of this is a protection mode thing. Not fully, but I think some of it is a protection mode thing. They could also just go to Carson Steele occasionally if they wanted to. But they're saving him for, hey, we need 1 run and we need 1 yard and fresh legs, insert Carson Steele. They haven't used him for anything but that.
They haven't, and getting into Sunday's game against Carolina a little bit, if all is going well on Sunday script-wise for the Chiefs, game script-wise, and you get to the fourth quarter and the lead is comfortable and you start to lay off the workload for Kareem Hunt, we don't know if Pacheco's playing or not. This feels like a game on Sunday where we could see more Carson Steele. Not early, not in the first half. But late in the game, could a Carson Steele or Samaje Perine actually get more carries in this one based off of the lead that you may or may not have and knowing it is a quick turnaround? It's not the first time all year they've had a quick turnaround, and Sunday to Friday is better than Sunday to Thursday, of course, but it still is later in the year. You got another stretch in a month of 3 games in 17 days or whatever. I wonder if this is a game on Sunday where we actually see more second half, third, fourth quarter Steele and Perine, to your point about keeping guys fresh, given the circumstances and the opponent and everything going into the Sunday's game.
Yeah, I think so, or at least I hope so. But again, I want to see. I love this game for the reasons that are look, I think that this should be UMKC versus Calvary. I think they should just bury this team.
You want them to do what the Lions just did this past weekend. You want them to put up 52 points. I just don't think that's going to happen.
I want to come in on Monday after a 52-10 win against the Carolina Panthers, feeling like you can pump your chest out, right? But part of this is I also understand the long game and the things that come with it. And so I want to see I would love this to be a game where they got Pacheco and Minihue in for 10 carries for Pacheco and 12 snaps for Minihue. Just getting a workout, getting a sweat, just getting out there a little bit, feeling for the way that this works again, seeing the speed again for a second, and then moving on with their day. I certainly don't want them to play a full workload or need it in this game, but the running game is vitally important for them because, look, this is supposed to be a bounce-back game, right? This is supposed to be that. You lost a game against a really difficult opponent. Your first loss of the season on the road. I know you're on the road, but it's the Panthers. Statistically, one of the worst teams in the entire league. But I don't expect anything unique or different out of this game. I don't think we're going to see the new evidence of a new wrinkle or something they've discovered about their offense. I assume they'll just line up the same way they've been lining up against Buffalo or a couple of others where I feel like they're trying to get to the basics in the early going. For some of these other players who just got added to this offense, I don't know, earlier this year, or in Hopkins' case, a month ago.
The way they utilize, I think, Hopkins in this game will be kind of interesting to watch, knowing that the story after Buffalo with D-Hop, a lot of people were curious, as we were as well, the 47% snaps for him. And why was that the case? Was it just the theory of saving? Was it the man-to-man defense? Whatever it may have been. Was it the draft pick compensation and they're saving snaps? Whatever you think the reason was, it was interesting. And so what does that look like on Sunday against Carolina? So much this will be, if we're just, ideal scenarios, you just don't even give Carolina any hope on Sunday, and you just get off to a good start. Your first 15 scripted, result in a touchdown. Because let's not forget, the whole script wasn't changed, but 4 or 5 plays into the game, Mahomes throws a pick. It's just like,
and then they're behind. And now they got to throw because they're behind.
So if you can, can you get through the first quarter? I can't remember the stat. I had it, I think, last night on we were talking about from a betting angle. But Mahomes' first quarter he's got 4 or 5 first quarter interceptions. 5. Yeah, 5. I think you're right. 5 first quarter interceptions. Like that. I mean, that's. That just, against Carolina, like you should have a mistake-free, turnover-free first quarter. Just sets the
and then
tone.
You're probably not going to turn over the rest
and
of the
just easy, Carolina, to Danan's point, of course, they're paid to play. They're feeling more confident. All that is true. But for the Chiefs, I mean, just getting off to a good start, even against Carolina, I think will set the tone of what this game should hopefully be. I made the comparison to Chicago last year, the Bears game. I don't know if they're winning by 20 plus. That was like a 20-something point win. Mm-hmm. I don't know about that, but it should feel comfortable. I really believe like this to me.
And you and I do not say that very often.
No, and for those that are saying, hey, don't forget Raiders last year. Totally, we all know the Christmas Day game. The difference for me, at least, is they're coming off a loss, and whether you want to use the word trap game, Drew, or whatever, we've had our discussion about that, but. When you're coming off a loss, I do believe there's a refocus that happens, and especially from someone like Travis Kelce, who didn't really have much of a factor in the game, statistically at least, against Buffalo. Like, I just think there's a renewed focus that occurs the next week. When they lost to the Raiders, they were coming off a win against Cincinnati the week before. Not a loss. So I don't agree with the direct comparison like, oh, well, we thought they were going to cruise by the Raiders last Christmas Day, and look what happened, you idiots. Like, that was basically a text we got earlier from somebody. Mm-hmm. I think this is a different...
Yes, teams have lost football games before. I am aware.
I think this is different.
Did they say idiot?
Yes,
he did.
So, look, I told you guys,
calling me an idiot
we may not read every text, but we see them all. We love the interaction. Doesn't mean we won't mention them and call you out for it, but we love the text.
Did he say you idiots or you idiots? Was he discussing us as a group or just calling one of us individually an idiot?
True. Maybe it was just me. I don't know.
Or me. I don't know.
Actually, wait, no. He did specific. I responded back, and I kid you not, this is real. He goes, that was for Cody, not you, Alex.
Oh, well, excuse me. Well.
You wanted to know.
You did ask.
I see how it is. I see where this is headed.
The Bengals win, someone says, was after the Raiders game, but the point being is they weren't coming off losses like that. If my understanding was correct on that one.
I just think teams lose games, and I also think that I think that it's unfair sometimes to understand that there's a difference between bad. So like, I know you're like, okay, so explain. So like last year's
the Chiefs
Raider
were coming off a win against the Patriots the week before.
Last year's Raiders game. That was a bad game for them. No one's arguing that. Obviously, that's the case. We all feel that way. It was a really bad game, embarrassing loss for them. That Raiders team was around 500.
Yeah.
So okay, that is an around
and they're a divisional opponent.
An in-division opponent who's around 500. That ain't the same game as this Panthers game. Those are apples to oranges, in my opinion. Division games rank differently.
Yeah.
I don't think the Browns are any good. Do I think they'll put up a better fight against the Steelers than they have their last 2 games? Yep. Sure do. Because that's just the way this works. Division games are harder. That was an 8-win Raiders team. The Panthers might pick 3rd overall this year. Like, I don't think it's unfair. And I think sometimes the Chiefs get a pass, and I don't think wrongfully so. Sometimes I and you and whatever, we give the Chiefs a pass because, like, what do I care if they blow teams out? All they do is win Super Bowls, right? Okay, cool. I do not think it's unfair for me to once or twice a year be like, I'm sorry, beat the hell out of this team. That's not once or twice a year. I'm not saying going to every game, but no offense, against the Carolina Panthers, one of the league's worst teams, I think it's crazy to go in there and be like, kick their ass. Like, they're terrible.
Well, for the reasons that you guys have both said, that if they take care of business and they get out to that start where they're as laser focused as they can be, they're going to win. They're going to win the game comfortably. They will win the game handily if they come out right. And
I want to see Carson Wentz in this game.
I will.
You want it to be the Bears game from last year? It's 41-10 or whatever the final score.
Now,
was.
if you do go look at the Panthers this year, some of the games we all know Andy Dalton did start, and now it's been Bryce Young. Bryce Young started, he got benched, and then it's been back to Bryce Young, and they've won 2 in a row. They're 2 wins. Panthers by 3 over the Giants in overtime, and a 1-point win against the Saints. If you look at when they've lost, to what you're saying, what you want to see, Cody, The Broncos beat them by 2 touchdowns. The Panthers beat them by 34 points. The Bears beat them by 26 points. You just keep. I mean, I can keep going. Like
even
Cincinnati beating by 10. The Chargers beat them by 23. So I get why you're saying that. As I said earlier, though, I still think ultimately more than the score. Now, it shouldn't be a 1-point game, but more than the score, it's did they get stuff right that we've all acknowledged? Did they get the worthy connection? Did they get some pressure on the quarterback?
Is the offensive line holding up well?
Yes, that kind of stuff.
I assume that.
But I don't think they're winning 47-3 either.
That would be pretty wild. That
would be stunning. I don't think it's 34-6.
I do think to your guys' point about the run game being so effective and important, I think that goes part into the reason they've been so successful in third down. They're the best third down team by a mile, as it's been brought up by the show multiple times. They run even if. Because how much is Kareem Hunt averaging a carry? Like
3.5 yards a carry? I mean, roughly.
2 3.5 yard runs, you get 7 yards. 3rd and 3 is way easier to convert than they're getting put in these situations sometimes where it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. It makes it a lot tougher on a team to convert those when you're down in distances, only 2 and 3 and 4 yards because you're just getting you're getting 3 to 4 yards a carry. Put yourself in good position. You're going to convert, and that's what allows for the drives also to be 7-8 minutes where they just take off the clock and they just are efficient.
But instead of I agree with you, and this is why they've been so good at third. But if instead of 3rd and 4 every time, right? What happens is they get 3. And then it's 3rd and 4, and they're really good at converting those. But if instead Pacheco gets 4 and 4 or 5 or 6 on one of those carries, and they get a 2nd and 3, guess what that is? An opportunity to throw.
Yeah.
You're already in the 3rd and 3.
Right.
You get to take advantage of it and step back and throw the ball. And that's not what we've seen enough out of Kansas City this year because of the limitations of the run game.
In about 10 minutes, we'll get to what's trending here on Cody and Gold. But we mentioned there was an update from the NFL in the last hour or so. You guys maybe locally had seen some of the news stories from any of the local TV stations. But in regards to the burglaries at Mahomes and Travis Kelce's home, this news first broke, a week or so ago from TMZ. And then Mahomes was asked about it and said he really couldn't comment more. The latest is that the NFL has actually sent out a security alert to team security and to the NFLPA about organized and skilled criminals that are increasingly targeting the homes of professional athletes, including the two that I just mentioned here locally with Mahomes and Kelce. This goes on to say from NFL.com, sources say the FBI is investigating the crime wave as international organized crime. The NFL Players Association and team security forces have also been monitoring the crime spree, which is believed to be tied to a South American crime syndicate. At least one other current NFL player's home was burglarized in the past week. So we know the name Kelce Mahomes.
Professional athletes.
But there's another NFL player's home that was burglarized recently, and they believe this is all linked to South America. Multiple people with knowledge of the crime said the perpetrators are non-confrontational, do not burglarize homes while residents are inside. Instead, they use public records to find players' addresses, conduct extensive surveillance. Then, by tracking team schedules and the social media accounts of players and their families, they wait until homes are empty, often during games, which is what allegedly happened during the timeline with Mahomes and Travis. Then they gain access, quickly steal items such as cash, jewelry, watches, handbags, focusing mainly on master bedrooms in closets. This was all part of a release that the NFL sent out to teams today.
The FBI is investigating it, man. This is big business.
Sure.
A crime syndicate?
Yeah.
You don't hear that sentence very
Mission
often.
Impossible movies.
I was going to say a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, but that's fine. That's essentially the Foot, right? They're a crime syndicate.
Uh-huh.
I think we can all agree that the Foot is a crime syndicate, robbing people.
That's right.
Everyone can agree to that. But anyway, I just...
Crazy, huh?
Wild story. But also, like my initial fear was like, why are you doing this to these people? They're in Kansas City. They love being here, and you're ripping them off?
Because they're a crime syndicate.
No. Before I knew it was a crime syndicate, I was worried it was like people in the neighborhood or local Kansas Cityans ripping off the star quarterback and the star attendant. I'm like, you jerks.
Yeah,
what have they not done for this city for you? But instead, it's a crime syndicate, so they're after, obviously, much bigger prizes.
You were worried it was that 14-year-old from Florida that we had crash of the day.
I mean, initially people thought it was maybe an inside job, contractor or something or whatever that was working in that area or whatever. But now, clearly, they've recognized this is something that's been going on with multiple athletes in the United States with regards to this South American crime syndicate.
Do you keep your additional cash in the closet as well? Or where do you, if you have cash...
Spoiler.
You just take it straight to the bank?
Yeah, spoiler, I don't keep cash around.
Straight to the bank?
Yeah, I don't keep cash around.
I was going to say, they might be really,
keep some cash around.
They might be disappointed if they go into, I guess, my apartment.
They're not trying to rob us for a reason.
No, but I also think in fairness...
I keep some cash around, a few $100.
Yeah, we know about your poker jar or whatever it is. You've talked about on the show before. I will say in the story, one thing that it sounds so obvious, but then you step back, it mentions like how easy it is for them to track where whether you put an Instagram story and you know that they're at a certain restaurant or at
the Kansas game and you send out a post.
It's very easy for people. Now, for them, it was obvious. They were playing an NFL game. It's very visible, the schedule. It's pretty obvious they're going to be at Arrowhead during that time, and that's what's scary about the situation. And why it makes more sense why Mahomes also wasn't able to talk much about it, because the FBI is involved. So
I mean, I can't even imagine like that, because they said the Mahomes one, it was hundreds of that. Like, I mean, it was like tens of thousands of dollars in cash and then like tens of thousands of dollars in jewelry. You're like, that's when you go to the master closet. Like, where's the watch box, or where's the box full of gold necklaces?
I still think I mean, now you can say, hey, they're just experienced. It's a crime syndicate. But still, knowing the communities that both Mahomes and Kelsey live in, gated
pretty
communities
organized crime syndicate.
But it says they do extensive surveillance before. Like they said they do extensive surveillance, so they obviously have they were able to pick up on some way to get in.
Someone says, I keep my cash in a safe. Do NFL players not have that? I assume they have a safe and that they
doesn't
keep
mean you always put it in there,
I think when you're dealing with the amount of money they're dealing with, maybe sometimes they get a little fast and loose with it. Even if you're careful, All
right, up next, we'll get to what's trending and then back into what baseball's TV plan could be and how it impacts you as Royals fans.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Kansas City, is Sean Barber. You know there's nothing easier than to enjoy watching the Chiefs with some wings and an ice-cold Bud Light. And Buffalo Wild Wings is serving up both for every game, all season long. Join me at the Buffalo Wild Wings, North Avenue and 71 Highway in Belton, Friday, November 22nd. I'll be there from 6 to 8 p.m. celebrating the back-to-back Super Bowl champs while eating some wings and drinking $5 Bud Lights. Nothing easier to enjoy than that. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
For more, go to 965thefan.com. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
MD Anderson Cancer Center is again ranked #1 in the nation for cancer care by U.S. News & World Report's Best Hospitals rankings. Our physicians treat more types of cancers in a day than many see in their whole career. This unmatched depth of expertise, combined with our groundbreaking discoveries, gives our patients access to the most innovative treatment options. Learn more at mdanderson.org.
Gates Barbecue's most iconic flavors will make your holiday meals unforgettable this year. Spice up your holiday get-togethers with Gates sauces and seasonings, made with fresh ingredients and gluten-free. Prepare your meats, potatoes, and vegetables with Gates sauces and seasonings. And while watching a game or your favorite holiday movie, sprinkle Gates seasoning on a fresh pop bowl of popcorn. Your taste buds will thank you. Buy Gates now. Available at your local grocer or online at gatesbarbecue.com. We do it the old-fashioned way.
The NBA is back, and FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app, wants you to catch all of the action. And right now, FanDuel is giving everyone, and I mean everyone, 3 months of NBA League Pass. All you have to do to catch every tip-off, every buzzer beater, is place any $5 bet on the NBA to get your 3 months of NBA Pass free, courtesy of FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/CDOT to make every moment more this season. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA, and also 96.5 The Fan. The NBA is back, and FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app, wants you to catch all of the action. 21 and present in Kansas. After a 3-month free trial, the full price of League Pass will be automatically charged monthly. Cancel anytime. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Limit 1 pass per customer. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Get help with your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Visit KSGamblingHelp.com.
If you've been driving your vehicle around for a while like I have, you know that you're going to end up needing some new tires. You're going to need new brakes. All of a sudden, that all adds up. The total cost of ownership is something we maybe don't all consider when we consider weighing spending money on maintenance or what that monthly payment might be on a brand new car. Plus, newer cars are going to offer you a lower interest rate as well. That's why I've been talking to my friends down at Max Motors, your Midwest dealer, just 7 minutes from the Grandview Triangle at 192 miles an hour. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car, maxmotors.com.
What does it mean to be the official information technology provider for the Chiefs? It means everything. Technology Group Solutions makes sure everything runs flawlessly for the millions of fans that attend games and the hundreds of millions of fans that comprise Chiefs Kingdom around the world. Technology Group Solutions can deploy that same dedication, problem solving, and incredible service to ensure your business runs smoothly. Technology Group Solutions, powering Chiefs Kingdom, and ready to do the same for you.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Presenting a Gain Flings love story. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus this morning when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. Alas, I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with OxyBoost and Febreze.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-583-5795. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-583-5795. That's 800-583-5795. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You're listening to the all-new 96.5 The Fan, your home for Kansas City sports. KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station. What's trending?
What's Trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Applied today at bakeru.edu. A little update from Chiefs practice today. The Chiefs did say that everybody's going to work in some capacity. So if you're hearing that, there's a chance that once again Pacheco and Amenihue could be limited. They were limited yesterday, but everybody is working in some capacity. Also, we'll keep an eye on some comments. Perhaps there's players like Chris Jones and Spags are speaking to the media as well. Biggest thing that I saw coming out from our friend Harold Kuntz, who is from Fox 4, out at the facility with Spags, was just discussing what was very evident for a lot of people watching the game, or anybody watching the game, which was that they have to win more third downs on defense. Says he saw 11 different things that were uncharacteristic of his defensive unit. Had we caught them in the half, we find a way, cut them in half. The quote says caught, but that must mean cut them in half. We find a way to give Patrick a chance to win.
I mean, I didn't need to see the tape to do that. The Bills lived in 3rd and long and still had way too much success in 3rd and long despite that. I also chalk part of that up to Josh Allen's real good. Sometimes he's going to get you on 3rd and long more than other teams and other quarterbacks will. Next up on What's Trending, Chris Sale and Tarek Skubal won the Cy Young Award last night. The Royals had 2 top 4 finishers. The runner-up, Seth Lugo, finished second, obviously, in the voting, and number 4 was Cole Reagans, right behind Emmanuel Clase. Tonight, baseball will announce the MVP award, where it's expected that Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge will be unanimous winners, is the actual expectation for tonight. We'll see. Bobby Wood Jr. is projected to finish second as it sits right now. We'll have the actual answers tonight. I just kind of hope Bobby gets one first place vote. Someone who values defense and base running
Well,
and gives him the edge as a result of that.
Isn't it voted on by Baseball Writers Association of America in each market or whatever? So maybe, I don't know, that would be somebody here, maybe.
Come on, Annie Rogers.
Maybe.
I don't know if it's her that votes, but might be Rusty Dodd or something.
Yeah. Next on What's Trending, I believe Drew just put this one in there because it wouldn't be me only because I can't stand recruiting news, but here it is. Juju Lewis, I guess I should know who that is.
He's the number 2 recruit in the country.
Is he? Sure, yeah. Committed to Colorado. I don't know why we have it in here, but it's in here. He's the number 2 player in the country. He's a 5-star quarterback.
Big 12 news.
He didn't commit to KU or K-State or Missouri.
I think what stands out about it to me as a program-wise is that he decommitted from USC like a couple of days ago, which seems like a logical place a 5-star quarterback goes a lot of times. And that Colorado is now a place where a 5-star recruit that isn't related to the head coach will go. Like, kudos to him. He can get a 5-star recruit in his son. Well, yeah, I would kind of anticipate that. Getting a 5-star recruit who isn't your kid at quarterback, I actually think that means Colorado might be good for a few more years, just as long as Deion
Or maybe
sticks
Deion
around.
will stay, yeah.
Yeah.
Or more convinced to stay.
I mean, he convinced this kid he's staying, that's for sure, because he's not coming to Colorado if it's not Deion Sanders there. That's for damn sure.
That's what's trending here on Cody and Gold. A reminder, coming up at 1 o'clock, we'll get you caught up for Fantasy Football Week 12. Who to start? If anybody tonight, snowy conditions for Thursday Night Football. How does that impact how you could play for fantasy this evening? And a Snitch Line Thursday around 1:15, 913-586-7965. Snitch Line Thursday, we'll roll that back. We do it only about once a month now. We used to do it weekly, once a month. So if you've got something to get off your chest, something that you've seen around their workplace, whatever it may be. I saw somebody texting a few in earlier. We'll get back to those in a little bit. But let's talk baseball briefly. No, not the award stuff, which I agree with you. It'd be interesting to see what the breakdown is tonight for Bobby Wood Jr. versus Aaron Judge, even though Judge is going to win it. But Richard Deitch, who is kind of a sports media reporter for The Athletic, he hosts a podcast. He was on with Carrington and Rob yesterday on The Drive, and they were discussing what is going on with the TV situation in baseball. For those that didn't catch our conversation a week or so ago on this, we all know that Diamond Sports Group went in through bankruptcy. It's done, but they've renegotiated with a lot of baseball teams, and it's under the FanDuel Sports Network umbrella now. The Royals have not reached terms on a new deal yet to have their games on there again. This year, it would also be distributed on Amazon Prime. And the thought is that Major League Baseball would like to bring as many rights in-house and be able to distribute it in-house. And long-term, that might be the best thing for baseball. It sounds great in theory, and if you're a Royals fan, that's what would be best for this franchise to be competitive consistently compared to the Yankees and Dodgers getting, I don't know, is it 10 times the money for a TV deal or 5 times the money?
The Dodgers got, according to reports, obviously all of it's not public, $190 million in TV rights deal last year. The Royals got close to 50, so about 4 times.
Okay, about 4 times. But I agree with, unfortunately, what Richard Deitch said yesterday, which is, how do you convince those big boys that they should actually want to help you out?
I'm a skeptic on this because as someone who lived in New York for 20 years, I find it very hard that the Yankees and the Mets would give up their revenue when it comes to the Yes Network and SNY. Now, Rob Manfred is going to try to sell them on the fact that if we can get all our inventory under one roof, ultimately it will pay off for everybody long term. Maybe he's right, but you are making a big ask if you're the owners of the Yankees, the owners of the Mets, the owners of the Dodgers in particular, to walk away from these lucrative deals that have not only made them money, but it's essentially almost guaranteed them the playoffs all the time. Now, I get why, like the Cardinals or the Royals or the Diamondbacks, sort of name your mid-market kind of teams, why they would want all this, why they'd want essentially an NFL model like you're talking about with Sunday Ticket. So I am a big, big skeptic. If you want to play the optimism role in terms of if you're looking at Major League Baseball, you're correct. I think 2/3, if I'm right about this, of MLB's 30 teams have their rights available come 2028. So they would be setting, already, they'd be sitting with basically 23, 24 teams to start with, and then they'd have to try to convince the big teams to go along.
So they've already got a third of baseball now.
Yeah, so 2028 is the timeline to look at, and then ultimately into the 2030s. But the Dodgers deal is well into the 2030s, and how do you sell? How do you sell the Yankees and the Dodgers that, hey, you guys are making way more money than everybody else. It's allowing you to spend way more money than everybody else. In some cases, it's resulting in you winning world championships. See the Dodgers this year. how do I convince them that it's smart for them to take less money to help everybody else out and that it's going to be better for all of us? I think it's a really tough sell for Rob Manfred, and why I agree with Richard Deitch that as great as this would be for the Royals, I don't see it happening.
Do you think Rob Manfred has to convince him that the sport will eventually die unless there is some level of competitiveness? Because, I mean, let's just be honest. We've pointed this out before, and I think it makes what they did even more impressive. Small market teams. It's worse in college football almost. The haves and the have-nots in baseball is nuts. Small market teams do not win the World Series. They have competitive baseball teams, right? The Guardians will play a good, but here, I mean, just real quick, here are the winners. You tell me when I get to a small market, or even one that you consider a middle-sized market. L.A. So the Dodgers, the Rangers, the Astros, the Braves. These are the 5 biggest markets in baseball. The Dodgers, again. The Nationals, I don't know, they're like 9th maybe.
DC is still, top
a massive market.
Top 10 market.
Boston, Houston, Chicago. There's the Royals. And then San Francisco, Boston, the Giants. I mean, Cardinals, if you get back to 2011. So 2 times in the last 12 years, 13 years. It is not a competitive sport. And so, I think generally baseball, I think Rob Manfred, and I spent a lot of time on this show bagging on the guy because I think he did a lot of stupid things there for a while, and I questioned whether he liked baseball for a long time. I loved the recent rule implementations, and I'll give him more than enough credit for those, and I love this idea. He knows he needs this for competitive balance. I told you my simple solution would be to just offer them more than everyone else gets for a set period of time, with the thought process being 15 years from now, we'll be a more equal sport. Can't solve our problems now. We're kind of a broken system in which we can't employ a cap. Nobody's going to vote for this in the big markets. We can't undo everything we've done for 200 years. It's impossible. But for the next 10 years, you guys make more from the MLB-owned media rights. And the biggest sell is, imagine if I get to sell all of you. You guys have seen these deals, right? You see what, MLS gets or the NFL gets for their TV rights package. Manfred's argument is, you don't have to do any work. We sell all of it, and everyone gets rich.
Yeah, the question for the Yankees, though, is the deal we have, even if this plan works, are we making what we were making before?
Someone says just take out New York and LA and put everyone else.
Yeah, but then the deal that the league is getting is not going to be as impressive because what you just described, what the NFL is getting, and the NFL is just king, but use the NBA, whatever. The reason why these deals are massive is because you have the LA and New York media markets and Chicago media markets, et cetera, all involved. So I get you that, hey, just say screw New York and LA, let's just do our own rights without them. Well, the value of the rights goes down drastically if you don't have the Yankees and Mets and Dodgers and Angels all part of this package.
Because you'd think that some are bigger than others, but the Cardinals deal is $75 million last year. The Cubs was only $99 million, right? So only, a $25 million difference. It's a difference, but it's not. But the Dodgers get $196 million last year, according to this. Philly got $125. The Royals got less than half of that. Do they not want this sport to be equitable in any way? I know that a salary cap, that ain't ever going to happen.
Never.
Okay.
Floor, I don't think does either, but that's what I would like to see as well.
That's just never going to happen. Okay. I mean, I just know that, right? But it's at some point, can you not find a couple of ways to make it equitable? They actually heard it in a way just a second ago because they got rid of tanking. They didn't let small market teams be bad anymore. Now it's you can't even be a top 5 pick 3 years in a row.
The other part is, how does this actually impact the consumer and looking ahead? One thing that CDOT asked Richard Deitch was looking at streaming and 5-10 years from now, where is that? And unfortunately, there is really no going back. The reality is we're going to have all these apps and there's going to be monthly fees and you're going to have to make a decision, it sounds like, on what you're going to watch. Listen to this from Richard Deitch.
The one thing, I hate to say it, but the one thing you could always bet on is ultimately the consumer's going to pay more for sports. So Manfred may be able to pull this off, but again, I would just, for anybody listening, your audience, if you are a diehard baseball fan, the likelihood is that you are going to have 3 or 4, I'd say minimum, streaming services to watch all of these games. Now, again, a lot of people, particularly men under the age of 40, they have discretionary income and they're willing to pay for it. But in many ways, sports heading forward, particularly in the 2030s, it's kind of going to be an upper middle class play. You're going to have to spend some money in order to watch this stuff.
Now, for baseball, 162 games. If there's 10 of your games that are going to be on a non-local app, you can very easily maybe just say, well, okay, I'll miss the 10 of 162.
It's going to be on Paramount Plus. Be like, okay, well.
You're out. But
I guess I won't catch that game tonight.
If eventually the postseason is only on an app, much like the NFL has put a wild card game or two only on Peacock, unless you're in the market of the games, the two teams, I should say, then that might be something that gets you. I think people just have to make a decision. Because he's talking about baseball, but that's a broader conversation. Every single league is putting more and more games on streaming apps. We can all see it happening. He's talking about 2030. Imagine what it's going to be like 6 years from now. So that is where we're heading.
The apps will consolidate too. That's the other thing we're not factoring in.
Maybe
that's happening a little now, isn't it? I mean, Disney and Hulu and whatever. I mean,
yeah, there's a chance. There's definitely a chance of that as more and more companies decide to partner up and offer. I mean, ESPN is trying to do the direct-to-consumer route too, and they're looking to potentially have some other sports in addition to hockey, which is on ESPN Plus right now. But I do think everybody will have to use their own situation to decide whether or not it's worth spending an extra $20 a month in 5 years from now for another app or a third or fourth or fifth app just to watch a sporting event.
I've seen a lot of people earlier on the text line too, because I said, look, I've been paying the Bally's price. I want to watch the Royals, important for my job. And that is
it's a little bit different for you and I for that.
I understand, but if I look at it viewly as if I lived in California and I was a massive Royals fan, I don't want to watch the Royals every day, but I live out of state, so I don't have the option to watch them. That's what MLB TV costs. That is the cost to watch the game unless you're going to go through an illegal streaming site.
Yeah, and if you're a T-Mobile customer, you get the MLB TV for free. It's
true. Great point. I'm a Verizon guy, but that's fine. But when you look at what is available to those, people watching outside, that's just kind of the cost. What I see a lot on the text line is I'll pay $6 to $10, but I won't pay $20. And I guess maybe that's just, and I understand, I would rather pay $6 to $10. I also think that's probably why a lot of these streaming services have stuck with that price point. But I will point out, and I know someone's going to be like, think about all the things they watch. It's about what you pay for Netflix. And you're going to say, and I would ask you a simple question. If you are a Royals fan and you want to watch every Royals game, you want to watch 162 of them, do you watch 3 hours of Netflix a day? Because I don't care how much variety you have. I'm just asking the pure amount you watch. And if the answer is no, but you will watch every Royals game, well, then technically you're getting better value. You're not getting variety in your value, but you are getting a more watch per minute. It is expensive, and I'm not going to pretend like it's not, and I sure as hell wish it was cheaper too, the same as everyone involved here. But I've also just kind of accepted kind of what Deitch is saying here, which is I don't think watching any sport is going to be free for very long. Even the NFL has stopped being free, except the one thing they're smart about is you can, for now, catch every local Chiefs game in local television for free. And you can catch some football games.
And Sunday Night Football. Sunday night on NBC. Otherwise, Thursday Night Football, we all know, is on Prime. Black Friday game when the Chiefs play is going to be on Prime.
Isn't the convenience, though, as well, with the news potentially that it could be on FanDuel, Sports Network, or whatever, or on Prime, isn't that part of the convenience, though, where you might have to pay a little bit more? We don't know how much, but let's say it's $12.99 an extra a month as the add-on, or if it's $9.99 because that's what it is on YouTube TV, and you get that. It's the convenience of not having to go to the different app, where I think people are more willing, even if it's 12 or 15, to pay the 15 if it's on an app. Like say it's on Prime. If you watch something on Prime, it's more convenient because you're not just getting the Bally's app only for Royals games. You utilize it in other ways, similar to if you have the add-on with YouTube TV. You still watch TV on YouTube TV, so it's not like you have to have a separate app that costs $20 extra. It's just an add-on to what you already have. You don't have to go anywhere else. I think people are more willing to pay that $15 instead of the $20 for the Bally's app, or even if you said it is $10 for another app, but it's $12 to be currently on whatever TV you have. I think people are more willing to pay the $12 because you don't have to go to another place to watch the game.
So we'll find out within the next month or so, at least on probably where the Royals are going to be for next year, if they re-up, and therefore you'll be able to access it through Amazon Prime or wherever. We don't know yet. The other stuff is much more long-term, 2028, 2030 type of conversation, but it's definitely something that's going to have some sort of change moving forward. All right, let's get back to the NFL. All 32, a little local connection. Drew Lock. Let's talk about Drew Lock for a second.
He kind of got hosed.
He did. So in New York, he was signed in the offseason, $5 million, I think, guaranteed money, to be the number 2 quarterback behind Daniel Jones. And some even thought maybe compete with him at one point during camp. That did not happen, though. Now we all know Daniel Jones has been benched. They're starting the third-string quarterback, Tommy DeVito. Tommy Cutlets. He's back. Drew Lock clearly was upset, and he probably should be, because he was told he was the number 2 quarterback, as in he would be the guy that gets to start when Daniel Jones is not available. But listen to Drew Lock yesterday up in New York.
Again, that's a question I might still have for myself. It was expressed to me that I was going to be the 2, and I don't know, it's just an interesting situation. Not much I can really say about it besides, again, I'm gonna be here for him, and we're still communicating, still very good friends, believe it or not. I'm gonna be here for him. This team needs to get a win, and we start winning, everything gets a little better around here.
Some of it is in addition to the $5 million. Depending on how much he plays, there was some escalators. He could have made more money.
Yeah.
There's belief that they're not playing him, A, because they don't want to possibly pay him that extra money, but also
Cheap ass, what, a couple $1 million?
They also maybe do not want to, frankly, win games.
Yeah, that's a real Bengals move, by the way, to not want to pay him a couple of $1 million.
Because he's better than Tommy freaking DeVito, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Drew Lock is. And it stinks for him because if he would have got an opportunity to play down the stretch and perform well, then maybe he gets an opportunity somewhere else next year. And now he's not going to play at all this year.
I was laughing on the text line earlier because I said it's a real Bengals move. Someone, when we were talking earlier about the crime syndicate robbing the place, I was like, well, they can't rob Jamar Chase because the Bengals won't pay him. I was just like, wow. Shots fired at your squad there, Drew.
There's also no hardware there to pick up last time I checked either.
Oof. Look, they didn't deserve that right now. They didn't deserve that.
I have nothing to say about it because
they don't pay players. You can't have an argument against that.
I have nothing to say.
That's fair. I think that's more than fair. I want to discuss on all 32 the rookie quarterback situation. Because what I think has again happened is the standard set by C.J. Stroud last year, or even going back 5 years, maybe with Patrick Mahomes in his first full year as a starter. Stroud has come back to earth a little bit, but obviously we know statistically he had the single greatest rookie season of all time. Most of the quarterbacks, if you look at the stats, they're kind of meh. Like Jaden Daniels, we're 11 games in, he's got 10 passing touchdowns. It's fine, 2,200 yards. Caleb Williams, 9 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Even Bo Nix, who now does have 14 passing touchdowns due to the fact he had a breakout game last week. None of the numbers are jaw-dropping. Like, look at these rookie quarterbacks go. I would just tell you, Stroud set a standard that is unfair to judge whether any of them will be stars. I think you just got to take it in the moments in which they look like stars and just assume that there is some growth still to come in there. And sometimes it's hard to remember rookie quarterbacks are supposed to look like rookie quarterbacks. I think over the last month, that's what we've seen with Jaden Daniels. Most of the year, that's what we've seen out of Caleb Williams and Drake May and some of these others. I actually think all 4 of them have shown signs of maybe being viable NFL starters this year with no one that I'm like, that's a bust.
Yeah, it's not a Bryce Young situation from last year where you're like, oh gosh, I don't know if this guy's ever going to figure it out. I also think I would argue Jaden Daniels to me is clearly going to be a star. I think I've seen enough, even though the last couple weeks hasn't been as strong. They played Philadelphia, they played Pittsburgh, and there's a lot of belief in D.C. that Cliff Kingsbury, who their OC is, was great in the first half. Historically, Cliff Kingsbury's offenses fall off a cliff in the second half of seasons. So maybe it's more on him. Who knows? And then Caleb Williams, get the man an offensive-minded head coach next year, and let's see what he can do.
So Mac and I last night on After Hours talked about head coaching vacancies. We've talked about it on this show as well, ranking them a little bit. I think the Jets, behind the Bears, behind the Jaguars, if the Bengals fire Zach Taylor, say they're up there as well, I think the Jets might actually be more appealing than the Cowboys, than the Saints, than some of the other ones.
A quarterback.
This is the thing.
All right, let me hear it.
So they're bad enough right now. I don't know if I know that Woody Johnson has said, let's start Tyrod Taylor. Obviously, that might be better for the situation of getting to where they can maybe take Shedeur Sanders, or maybe they can trade up to take Cam Ward. But we've talked about the new coach coming in. You cut Aaron Rodgers. You have Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, Hassan Reddick. I just think for the personnel, you get the right head coach in there, you can deal with that a little bit more, I think, than dealing with the Saints situation or the Cowboys dumpster fire.
Look, the Saints are a mess cap-wise. I don't think that's a great opportunity either. I'm with you. But after seeing the report about Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, and he is on a fast track to becoming one of the worst owners in sports.
Bulleting up the list.
And that's a bad thing for Jets fans. And you're starting to wonder if he is going to actually think he needs to be even more involved now after the team went all in and it didn't pay off. So I would run away if I was a legit top candidate. Now, look, we've talked about this. Hey, there's only 32 jobs. And so if you're, like Dave Canales, he took the Panthers job. Nobody else was looking at Dave Canales yet, so he takes the Panthers job. If I'm Ben Johnson, there is no chance, if I have options, I'm picking the Jets over some of the other openings. I also think if the Giants job opens up, I think that's maybe one of the best openings in the future, given where they're at draft-wise. They have Tracy, the running back. They have Malik Neighbors. They have a good defensive front. Like some of the names you mentioned with the Jets, the names are big, but are they trending in a direction where maybe we've all overvalued Sauce Gardner? We've overvalued some of the...
I talked about this with the Chargers a few years ago. By the way, just to be clear, if you gave me a choice of any of the jobs I believe will be open, I'd still take the Bears. Caleb Williams was the number 1 overall pick last year.
Absolutely.
I'll convince he was supposed to be a generational talent. I'll talk myself.
I think them and the Jaguars are the clear 1-2.
They're like a 500 team over the last 2 years is what they're going to end up being. And if you're going to tell me I'm going to get a 500 team of talent with the number 1 overall pick from a year ago, if I'm any coach looking at a job, give me the Bears. That'd be my number 1 choice by, I think, a significant margin. Before I started kicking around these other jobs, the Jets would be pretty low on my list.
To me, that's where Ben Johnson should be the head coach of the Bears next year. There's no reason for that not to happen.
If you knew that you could cut Aaron Rodgers, does that job become more appealing instantly?
Well, I think that's the only option now. He's getting cut, or he's going to retire.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a scenario where he's back on that team. Period.
Yeah.
He has no more after this year.
Bench him.
All his anybody that had their allegiance to him because their job was tied to Aaron Rodgers, they're all gone. So the new guy that gets brought in, I don't give a damn who you know what I mean? I don't care that they brought you in. You're not my guy. I think Rodgers is either going to retire or he's getting cut at the end of the season, and they got to restart that whole thing. But they'll still be paying them. All right, guys, that's all 32. Up next, let's get back into what Andy Reid has a chance to do on Sunday and which game actually stands out as the toughest remaining for KC.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue.
Men, it's the holidays, a time of love and joy. But if you suffer from erectile dysfunction, the season can be tough on you. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if you and your partner are experiencing struggles because of ED, change it up this year. Give the best gift you can give to the one you love by treating your ED and restoring your relationship. At Heartland Men's Health, we're experts at treating ED. And as a Promenic restorative health practice, we've literally seen countless thousands of relationships renewed across the nation. Plus, with treatments having success rates well over 90%, coupled with many treatment options, we can likely find the right one for you. You may even find you're performing like you haven't in years. So call us and give your partner the best gift you can give this season. A renewed, restored relationship. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in our office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. Heartland Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
Hey, Chiefs Kingdom, as the official whiskey sponsor of the NFL, it's not a kickoff without the generous spirit of Crown Royal. And that's why we've built the Crown Royal Rig, an absurdly awesome 18-wheeler delivering the generous spirit to stadiums and tailgates across the country. Follow the Royal Rig on its journey from city to city, bringing together local cuisine, NFL legends, and the opportunity to pack a purple bag for charity and win tickets to Super Bowl 59. Visit crownroyal.com for rules and more. Please drink responsibly.
It's winter clearance time at Volkswagen Lee Summit. Get up to $5,000 off the 24 Jetta, 24 Taos, and 24 Tiguan, and up to $8,000 off the 24 Atlas and Atlas Crossport. Hurry in before we sell out of 24s. Visit VWLeeSummit.com.
Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
I'm Mitch Holtish, voice of the Chiefs. Everyone develops cataracts naturally as they get older. When your vision is affected by cataracts, you should see my doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein at Silverstein Eye Centers. Dr. Dr. Silverstein is a world-renowned cataract surgeon who performs life-changing laser-assisted cataract surgery with premium lens implants to correct your vision up close and far away. Trust my eye doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein, Silverstein Eye Centers, 816-358-3600 to schedule an appointment.
At House of Diamonds, 100% of the custom jewelry we sell is designed, cast, and finished from scratch just for you right here in our Overland Park shop. Don't settle for fake custom. Get real custom at House of Diamonds on the southeast corner of College and Quivira.
Your attention is precious. Pulled in a million directions for a million different reasons. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City works hard to make sure your health insurance isn't one of the many things distracting you from what's important. By making healthcare easier to navigate, we help keep your focus on the moments that matter most. Like dinner with loved ones. Letting you focus on you. That's the benefit of Blue. Learn more at BlueKC.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of Depend, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing catch. Because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, Depend is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 40 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend Shield Guards Real Fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $300,000 void in Mississippi.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, I'm Kamiko, the founder of Miko's Hot Chicken. When we started our family restaurant, we were also raising a family. But let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Our Chase Inc. card was there to reward us on all of our business needs. Now we have a thriving location, and we're hungry for more.
With the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited card, you can earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for business. Make more with yours. Real business owners compensated for their participation. Cards issued by JPMorgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC. Subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM. Or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
This Thanksgiving at Total Wine & More, find Pinot Noirs and Cabernets that you adore. Our helpful guides are so friendly and nice. So many bottles to try at the lowest price. So gather with friends as you sit down to eat. Grateful for all who made Thanksgiving complete.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
It takes a lot to prepare for game day as a dedicated fan, and preparing the perfect tailgate meal might be most important of all. That's why Hellmann's Real Mayonnaise is the MVP. Hellmann's Mayonnaise is the secret to bring out the rich and creamy taste to all your game day dishes, from buffalo chicken dip to your favorite sub sandwich and everything in between. So give it a try, and mayo game day be delicious with Hellmann's Real Mayonnaise. Shop at your local Walmart, Kroger, or grocery store, and add some extra deliciousness to your game day dishes this football season.
Chiefs coverage on 96.5 The Fan is brought to you by award-winning Johnny's Barbecue in Olathe.
Football and barbecue fans, score big with Johnny's Barbecue tailgate packages. Whether you're hosting a home gate or a tailgate, Johnny's Barbecue has you covered. Check out our tailgate packages at johnny'sbbqkc.com. Located in Olathe and serving all of KC. Johnny's Barbecue. Taste the smoke.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Thanks for hanging out with us here on a Thursday. Hope you're having a great day in Kansas City. Reminder, you're thinking about where to watch games this football season. The best place to watch the game is at Johnny's Tavern. Now through December 15th. At any Johnny's Tavern, scan the QR code to enter for a chance to win a tailgate prize pack and the grand prize of a hosted watch party with a $300 bar tab for you and your friends. Each location's going to have a winner, so you don't miss out. Grab your friends, grab a Yingling, and get in on the action only at Johnny's Tavern in partnership with 96.5 The Fan. Your home for football, fun, and Yingling. Must be 21 or older to enter. We'll get to the random question of the day here in about 12 minutes or so. But on Sunday, Andy Reid can clinch his 19th season with double-digit wins. Whether it was obviously going to happen this season, that's not a stunner, but just 19 years of double-digit wins. That puts him in elite company and makes sense. Only Bill Belichick and Don Shula have had more seasons with them. They've had 20 apiece. So he's going to
So he's one more, he's going to beat that
He's
record.
going to surpass that. Add that to the list that I think will matter in the greatest coach of all time conversation. He's already a Hall of Famer. He could have retired.
He's already a top
a
5
long
coach
time
of all
ago.
time?
Yes, I think so.
I agree.
I think he's a top 5 coach of all time already, and I also think he would have been a Hall of Famer a long time ago. So that's already cemented. But the conversation between Shula, Belichick, and Reid is one that I think is interesting. I think ultimately becomes a Reid and Belichick conversation because rings and also playoff wins. Andy Reid is passed on Shula now for playoff wins. He, I think, is tied with Shula for Super Bowl rings.
He is. There's only two guys with more Super Bowl rings. Noel with 4 and Belichick with 6.
So you start thinking about what Andy Reid's legacy basically is going to be. You and I both believe he's coaching for at least another 3, 4, 5 years, unlike Mike Florio, who 4 years ago started claiming he was going to retire, and here we are. So when we're talking about the narrow circumstance of who's the greatest coach of all time, some people will just flat out say it's the rings, and that's all that matters. The other part that
That's
I
a
think
stupid
Andy
argument because then not unless you're going to sit here and tell me Bill Russell's the greatest basketball player of all time.
I think
I will never have a straight rings conversation unless you're entertaining it across the board.
I also think it's different for coaches than players anyway, just because it just.
Sure.
But in this conversation, you have the way Andy's going to likely go out, whether it's 3 years from now, 7 years from now, I don't know, right? And that is he's going to go out on top one way or the other, whether it is winning a ring, whether it's just once again going to the playoffs and another 12-plus win season. Versus Belichick, who either has retired already and he's done, and we all know how it ended, or he's going to come back next year and who knows what another couple of years in a different franchise is going to look like. And there's no cheating allegations around Andy Reid like there are and have been around Bill Belichick.
That is one of the biggest arguments I would say for, because while I think we can all agree that Deflategate was nonsense.
Spygate was real.
Spygate was very real. He was filming practices for his opponent in a year in which he won the Super Bowl. That's cheating. Like, that's straight up cheating. I mean, like, there's not like a mystery in it or anything else in between. He took it. And by the way, the whole way it went down was shady as hell. The NFL league office went down to their little VHS cassette room and destroyed, presumably, mountains of tapes just like that, Gold. Like, screw that. I will always think that Bill Belichick did anything he could to get an advantage, but certainly got an advantage he didn't deserve. I think very simply, and this is going to sound like a homer take, and I'm sure anybody outside of Kansas City call me crazy. If Andy Reid wins one more Super Bowl, I don't care under any circumstance. In the next 5 years, he's the single greatest coach of all time. That's it. That's all it'll take for me. That's it. He is 5 wins behind Bill Belichick for all-time playoff wins with a couple more this year. 2 more postseasons. He could knock that out and be tied with Bill Belichick. 1 more ring. He'll have the second most all-time. He's already in the top 4 of wins all-time. And the thing that I will always say, there's 2 things that I think of a reason why I'll give him the edge over Bill Belichick. And that is the list of starting quarterbacks for Andy Reid versus the list of starting quarterbacks for Bill Belichick. And what they did with those quarterbacks when they didn't have the superstar. Because when they had the superstar, it's obvious. When they had this with the 2 greatest quarterbacks to ever live, Bill Belichick won six trophies, and Andy Reid has won 3 trophies. And my hypothetical 4, at least. When they did not have the superstar quarterback, Gold, Bill Belichick has a losing record. He's a losing coach without Tom Brady. And it's a small sample size, admittedly. It's only, 4 or 5 seasons. Not small, but smaller than Andy's. Andy won the whole time. He had like 3 losing seasons or 2 losing seasons or something without him as a coach. Like, it's just, that is the thing that will always drive me towards Andy as a better coach.
I also wonder with the year they're having right now, the three-peat. That if they get the three-peat, that's something that Belichick, of course, in the nobody's done. So that would be a way where you can balance out the lack of rings, or at least the same amount of rings, in the Belichick greatest of all time conversation. If you did something that franchise in that era wasn't able to do, then that is going to weigh heavily, and I think it should, in a greatest coach of all time category, and in a year in which we know they've been very banged up injury-wise. Yeah, his quarterback is healthy, but all these other they've lost at one point in time this year, we know, number 1, number 2 receiver. They've lost a running back 1 and 2 at some point this season. Keep going down the list. Quarterback 1, quarterback
last year.
Or quarterback 2, I'm sorry. Like they have lost pieces like that. Now, the Patriots had the 17-0 season, but they didn't win the Super Bowl that year. If the Chiefs have the three-peat, that changes everything, not only for the organizational dynasty conversation, but for this with Andy Reid and the ultimate discussion of better or not than Bill Belichick when it's over. The win stuff gets interesting, as people have pointed out on the text line. We all know they're playing more games now than they did during Don Shula's time as a head coach, but there also wasn't free agency, as you pointed out. At that point in time. So that's what's fun about this conversation. But Andy Reid is just going to end his career on a higher note, it looks like, than Bill Belichick did.
Out of curiosity, yeah, he is. I mean, almost assuredly now at this point. Interesting point over in the YouTube chat. If you don't know, we stream all 4 hours of the show, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. The Fan 965. Michael over there said he also thinks coaching tree should be considered when talking about the greatest coach.
Okay.
Don't you think that should play a factor? I mean, look, Andy Reid's is definitively, I mean, in a lot of ways, I think that it probably is like an ancillary part to like, hey, look, see the point I'm making?
Yeah.
But I think when you're the head coach, people are never going to be like, coaching tree is the reason why I think you're a better coach. But his tree is undoubtedly better.
No doubt.
Undoubtedly better.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I wouldn't factor that in like if you're having a debate.
But you hear it and you're like,
If you're having a debate about greatest coach of all time, I don't know if I would factor in the coaching tree, but I mean, it's not a terrible point by any means. Like I get it, and you're right. There's no question who's had more success from guys that have, ended up leaving the nest, if you will. And right now, he was building a ridiculous coaching tree currently.
Sean McVay.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
His roster goes deep.
The path that those guys are headed on.
So this is a conversation we've had with the quarterback that we didn't talk about earlier. So does the head-to-head matter to anything in the head coach? Okay, so
somewhat.
What
more so as player stuff, greatest of all time stuff than I would coaches.
Because they're about 500 against each other. It's 5-7 is Andy Reid, so he's a little bit below 500. But he has lost 3 times in the playoffs. He has only faced Bill Belichick 3 times. He's lost all 3 of those games in the playoffs. The divisional round game with Alex Smith against Tom Brady, the AFC Championship game with Patrick Mahomes against Tom Brady, and he lost in the Super Bowl to Tom Brady with Donovan McNabb. So, I guess part of this for me is the same thing. I only view that as 0-1 for the coach because he went into the game with a massive disparity at quarterback. That just means something to me. And I could be like, yeah, Donovan McNabb had a really nice career. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback in his career. He had a really nice career. I'm not saying Alex Smith was a bad quarterback in his career either. He also had a really nice career. It's not Tom Brady. That's a lot of reasons why you and I have discussed a coach like Kyle Shanahan and why we'd be like, well, he's 0-2 against Tom Brady or against Andy Reid in the Super Bowl, so he's not a serious coach. I'm like, man, come on. He went into those 2 Super Bowls with Jimmy Garoppolo against Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy against Patrick Mahomes. He's not supposed to win that game. That's a decided mismatch for Kyle Shanahan. Bad news, my guy. That's a tough one.
So he always is going to have that out, you're saying, essentially, until he gets a good quarterback. Say Kyle Shanahan coaches 20 more years. He never gets a Mahomes-like quarterback. Is that always going to be the...
He'll have to win something. I still need him to get a ring or 2. He's got to find his way. But, for the ones he goes up against Patrick Mahomes, I grade him different. I just grade... I grade losses to Tom Brady different. There's just an advantage, an inherent
There
advantage
is, but also,
in
every era there was that guy. And so you've had to find a way to overcome it. I mean, every single era. Maybe you're running into Steve, Joe Montana or whatever at some point on the other side. That was the era, at that point. Maybe you ran into John Elway. Maybe you ran into Tom Brady or whatever, Well,
and that was the whole thing around Belichick and Brady was how is it more Tom or is it more Belichick? And then I think we've realized that it's more Tom. Not to say that this is going to
win a Super Bowl and Bill lost every season after that.
Not to say that this will be the same thing that happens with Patrick Mahomes, but if we see Andy Reid retires and Patrick Mahomes is either still great, then maybe it's both of them. Or if he falls off, then maybe that conversation is reintroduced. I do think it's interesting. I think the coaching tree thing is more of a legacy, like impact on the game legacy thing than it is best coach.
Sure, like who left their imprint on the league?
You can flip it because, as someone did point out, they're like, hey, if you're going to say the coaching tree matters, then you could actually say Belichick did more because he didn't have as good of guys around him. So you can flip it around.
Well, that could be his fault. He's supposed to make those guys better.
You can flip it all the way around. So anyway, fun conversation coming up in about 15.
What's Steve Belichick up to these days, this kid?
He's at UW.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a defensive coordinator, I think, at UW.
Excuse me.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we will get to fantasy football discussion with Paul Charchian of GuillotineLeagues.com. Who to start, including tonight, where there's some snowy conditions expected for Steelers and Browns. Before we get to the random question of the day, the other part for the Chiefs the rest of the way, of course, is, all right, what's that schedule look like? And now you have to dive deeper because the number one seed conversation's closer. You and I disagree on this. I think it's pretty clear right now what the toughest game is remaining on the schedule and who that opponent is. 3 weeks ago, admittedly, I think my answer is different. But at some point, I have to, at least for a one-game head-to-head matchup, acknowledge how tough the matchup could be. I'm talking about this Pittsburgh Steelers game on Christmas. They're 8-2. I think they win tonight. We'll see. I think they get to 9-2 after a win against Cleveland tonight. And if they do that, then I think they are going to win that division. If they get to 9-2, they already beat the Ravens, one up on them. They've swept the Bengals.
And they're two in the loss column up on them, too.
Right. So I think it's the Steelers, considering who they are in a one-game sample, their style of play, well-coached. It's Christmas Day. It's on the road. It's wedged in the middle of that weird stretch of 3 games in a short period of time.
Is it the last of the 3? I think it is.
Yes, before the Broncos. Yes, week 17.
So it's the worst one. The last of the 3 is the worst one.
Cleveland.
First one's not as bad.
Cleveland, Houston, Christmas Day Steelers game.
So I think because of the schedule, you can make a more than fair argument for the Steelers game. I think that's probably, if I put it to a vote here on the text line, 913-586-7965, that would probably be the majority of the answer. We'll take your answers over there because I'm curious. For the reason you said. The third of the 3 really hurts. I'll be honest, I'm eliminating Houston from this conversation real quick. They're not playing good enough football. They get to play that game at home. They're on 6 days rest, not 7. It's the beginning of the 3-day cycle, which I always think is overblown in the 3 games in 10-day cycle. The difficulty of that is really in the next 2 weeks, not the first week where you're essentially having a relatively normal week. So, whatever. It's just a normal home game against a team who I think the Chiefs are better than. So I'm down to 2 divisional games and a game on the road against the Steelers because I'm eliminating, obviously, the obvious ones. It's not the Raiders, the Panthers, or the Browns. So when I look at those 3, I actually think if the game matters, and that's a big caveat here, and I understand that, on paper alone, the Broncos is the toughest one because I think they are the single worst matchup for the Chiefs. Because in a lot of because they can still score and run the ball well. They're so good on the
Steelers, but just better. Isn't that just a better? Aren't the Steelers just a better version of that?
Honest to God, these teams are kind of the same. Right? They're kind of the same. You know what the thing is, though, is that I give this I think if both of these were neutral site games, I would say Steelers. They're both road games, and you're like, well, then why wouldn't you just say Steelers? I value maybe more than most people. I don't know. I view division games as different. They are just, and I know that that's not a new concept, but they get a 10% bump versus a regular road game.
Do you think that game is going to, no, do you think the week 18 game is going to matter? Because that's why I didn't give, that's why to me it can't be Denver.
If I don't think it's going to matter, Steelers.
Okay.
Steelers.
Okay.
No argument for the Chargers. Anyone would make it? I mean,
well,
17-10 game the first time. They're playing better football.
If we're talking about environments, on the road and all that stuff.
Nah, that one's at home.
Chargers are at home. They already played
That's the other part.
My thing is,
it's a home environment either way.
Right. True.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
differ on the Chargers maybe than others because my whole thing this week has just been about the Chargers getting overinflated because of Sunday Night Football and their win against Cincy. They're obviously going to be a playoff team. Harbaugh's doing a hell of a job. The defense is a problem. All that is true. But I think they're at their peak in terms of how we're maybe overvalue is the wrong word. I think we're at peak evaluation. This is as good as it gets of how we should be viewing the Chargers.
You're at the highest possible notion of confidence in them and
correct.
Getting ready to
and
go
now
down
their
a little.
Harbaugh Bowl is Monday night, Ravens Chargers, and I think at least, and obviously it's never as simple as it seems. I think the Ravens are going to win that football game. and all of a sudden we'll be reminded that the gap still exists between Ravens, Buffalo, Kansas City, and teams like the Chargers.
They play Baltimore this week?
Yeah, Harbaugh Bowl, Monday night.
Oh, that's right. They downplayed a little bit. That's a big deal. 2 coaches in the NFL. I'll say this game has the same potential as what happened with the Steelers is. I told you, man, I take the Steelers a lot more serious if they beat Baltimore. I now take the Steelers a whole hell of a lot more serious than I did 2 weeks ago. And by the way, both of our answers have been different on this.
Absolutely.
A month ago, 3 weeks, hell, maybe
Houston.
2 weeks
A
ago.
month ago, my answer was Houston.
Yeah, so it's funny how quickly the NFL can change. The one thing I'll say, same thing with the Chargers, though. The Baltimore Ravens, while not the best team in the AFC, they are a challenging team. If the Chargers go and beat the Ravens, put the Ravens back in their place, and now we're like, hell, even we're better than the Ravens, well, then I got to view the Chargers different. I also agree with you, and I think the Ravens are going to win that game. The biggest problem I have with the funniest thing about this is all 3 of these teams rank within 1.5 points in points per game on offense and defense. They are the number 1, 2, the 3 teams we're discussing, the Broncos, the Steelers, and the Chargers, are number 1, 2, and 3 in defensive points per game, and they all rank within 1.5 points in offensive points a game. So by all facets, they're the same. They're the same team. Those are the same 3 teams.
Are we sure the Chargers are that good of a defense, though? Because I know they haven't played anybody, and the Bengals had 20.
Held the Chiefs to 17.
I know. The Bengals hung 27, and again, you could say could, but it should have been more points. Like as soon as if they hold the Ravens to under 24 points, then I think it's a big deal.
I think every team in the NFL has given up 27 this year.
Yeah, I mean, that Monday night game against the Ravens is a big swing. I would obviously have to start showing more respect towards the Chargers if they win that game.
If the Ravens score 31, though, how far do the Chargers fall, I guess, in your legit category?
Well, they're a playoff team no matter what happens on Monday night, in my opinion. It changes that if they win that game against the Ravens and they hold the Ravens to 21 or 24 and they win, and I think that game's in L.A. I could be wrong. I think it's in L.A. Monday night.
So.
If they do that, then I maybe have to start talking about the Chargers having an opportunity to win a playoff game or 2.
It could just be
that's the swing. Versus if they lose, I'm like, okay, playoff team, they're not a factor. They're not a concern.
I don't let one game skew it. The Steelers, who I think of as one of the best defenses in the league, gave up 27 to the Colts. Do I think they're not a good defense now? No. I mean, it's just one game.
Random question.
For you, Gold. For you, Drew, over on the text line, 913-586-7965. Of course, on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. Live stream the show over on the Fan 965. Please go like and subscribe over on YouTube at the Fan 965. Like a few more subscribers over there. Can't hurt anything. Question I have for you today is, do you think the art market is a front for drug smugglers? As in, funneling their money. Are they money laundering through art? And the reason why I asked that question is yesterday at Sotheby's or whatever auction house, a banana taped to a wall. Just a banana with regular duct tape. A banana that will rot. Duct tape. Taped to a wall. Sold for, and this is not a joke number, $6 million to someone who's made a bunch of money in crypto. So they bought a rotting banana who was put up by a comedian as like an indictment on the art world, but it was purchased for $6 million. So the question I have for you is a front for drug money?
I think some art is absolutely used to launder money.
Okay. I'm glad that we agree. This does not even seem like a deep conspiracy. Yeah. This was clearly a front to launder money.
I don't know about this and the whole backstory. I saw it floating around on social media about this.
It was projected to go for 2.5.
Duct tape banana.
6, dude. 6.
Yeah, I think at some point in time, has someone purchased art or anything like this of value to potentially launder money? Of course.
He'll sell it to some other drug dealer for a little bit less. They're just like passing the money back and forth amongst each other. Dude, it's a real banana taped to a wall. Have you guys seen the photo of this thing?
I have not.
Sure, it's just a banana. Like I don't know any other better way to describe it. There's nothing special about it. It's not like an artist installation. It wasn't made by Banksy or whatever other nonsense.
Okay, I'm looking it up now.
They could have completely changed the math. It's just a banana. Here's a story before it got
the guy
sold.
that bought it is the founder of a crypto. Like, not just bought it with, he's the founder of Tron, which has been around for a little while. He paid more than 40 times the higher price at the auction.
For what?
Someone has spent $150,000 before.
The person who bought it tweeted out, "I'm thrilled to announce that I've bought the banana."
This says the
dude, you got too much money. You can just be spending $6 million on a banana.
Someone says he didn't basically he purchased a certificate of authenticity that gives him the authority to duct tape a banana to a wall and call it comedian. So he's basically buying the rights to in the future, duct tape a banana to a wall and call that piece Comedian, as he owns the rights to that name. He's not actually buying that
he's buying
because
that
the banana's going to rot, so he can't.
Because the banana's going to rot.
So you're saying that if another
$6 million
artist,
just so dude,
In a
I'll go
statement,
get
he
a banana. I can tape a banana to the wall.
He said the piece represents a cultural phenomenon that bridges the worlds of art, memes, and the cryptocurrency community.
This guy sold a bunch of drugs to some foreign country
he also
and needed a way to hide the $6 million. That's my working theory. Obviously, just a guess.
He also
and
said,
this is in no way being reported as fact.
He also said, in the coming days, I will personally eat the banana as part of this unique artistic experience, honoring its place in both history and pop culture.
he said he's honored to be a proud owner of the banana and looks forward to sparking further inspiration and impact for art enthusiasts around the world.
It's nuts. This is crazy.
So
this is obviously a front for money laundering.
What you're saying, Gold, is that what he did basically is if Cody puts a banana up on the wall and tapes it, Cody doesn't own that technically, if he calls it a piece of art. This guy owns it.
By the name Comedian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just by the name Comedian. So I, just to be very clear, based on that description, can tape a banana to the 96.5 studios now.
And if you call it Comedian, you don't own it.
Correct.
This guy does.
Oh no, he'll own my banana? They're like 19 cents. This is crazy.
Are they really? I don't.
This is crazy. This guy should pay more taxes or something. He should not have $6 million lying around to buy this
He's
banana.
the founder of a fairly popular cryptocurrency. He's got a lot of money.
He should have less.
Art goes for
My
crazy
stance
prices,
is he
man.
needs less money because he's just wasting it. He's just throwing that money away.
Someone says, we've had a lot of drug talk today on the show, have we?
I
We
mean,
had
it
the
was a
trash of the
little
day
early.
involved the guy
it's 2 topics.
leaving.
That's only twice.
That's just twice, yeah. We did talk about South American crime syndicates robbing athletes' homes.
But we didn't discuss any drugs.
No drugs, although I'm sure there's some drugs involved in that whole thing.
I mean, crime syndicate.
From the South American aspect, yes.
I would think so.
Not from the people that were being robbed. Let me clarify.
Just a ludicrous. I just anytime I see that, I'm like, okay, these aren't real people. They need to funnel this money somewhere.
Drew's going to get a drop of Cody saying he will own his banana. We'll get that saved in the system. Up next, let's talk some fantasy football with Paul Charchian of GuillotineLeagues.com. Who are you starting this weekend? And Snitchline Thursdays coming up next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Your attention is precious. Pulled in a million directions for a million different reasons. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City works hard to make sure your health insurance isn't one of the many things distracting you from what's important. By making healthcare easier to navigate, we help keep your focus on the moments that matter most. Like dinner with loved ones. Letting you focus on you. That's the benefit of Blue. Learn more at bluekc.com.
Hey investors, this is JD again with Crossroads Investment Lending. Still wanting to get in that fix and flip game? Don't have the money? Maybe you've always wanted to get yourself a rental property. We can help you get in the door. Call the fix and flip guys at Crossroads Investment Lending, 913-766-2900, or go to kclend.com. That's KCLEND.com. Get started in the fix and flip game. What are you waiting for? That's Crossroads Investment Lending, 913-766-2900 or kclend.com.
If you've been driving your vehicle around for a while like I have, you know that you're going to end up needing some new tires. You're going to need new brakes. All of a sudden, that all adds up. The total cost of ownership is something we maybe don't all consider when we consider weighing spending money on maintenance or what that monthly payment might be on a brand new car. Plus, newer cars are going to offer you a lower interest rate as well. That's why I've been talking to my friends down at Max Motors, your Midwest dealer. Just 7 minutes from the Grandview Triangle at 192 miles an hour. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car, maxmotors.com.
MD Anderson Cancer Center is again ranked #1 in the nation for cancer care by U.S. News & World Report's Best Hospitals rankings. Our physicians treat more types of cancers in a day than many see in their whole career. This unmatched depth of expertise, combined with our groundbreaking discoveries, gives our patients access to the most innovative treatment options. Learn more at mdanderson.org.
The most incredible sale of the year is on right now at Diamonds Direct. Save an extra 20% store-wide. Rings, earrings, bracelets, bands, and designer jewelry. It's our biggest store-wide sale of the year. This weekend only, shop never-before-seen pieces, plus designers' appearances in the store. Save an extra 20% on Diamonds Direct's already unbeatable prices. Plus, book an appointment and get an additional $100 off this Friday through Sunday. For the best selection, quality, and price, shop direct. Diamonds Direct. For details, visit diamondsdirect.com.
The NBA is back, and FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, wants you to catch all the action. And right now, FanDuel is offering everyone 3 months of NBA League Pass. All you have to do to catch every tip-off and every buzzer beater is place any $5 bet on the NBA to get 3 months of NBA League Pass courtesy of FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/Alex. Use promo code Alex to make every moment more this season. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. After a 3-month free trial, the full price of League Pass will be automatically charged monthly. Cancel anytime. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Limit 1 pass per customer. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Every piece of land has a story. The Upshaw's right there is with a John Deere 1 Series tractor they call Penny. And this is Shaw.
Shaw stands for skilled hands at work.
When he's not cutting grass, he's cutting hair.
So every person is different from hair tight to head shape. And I feel like it's the same way in a yard.
From front loader to backhoe, the Upshaws have the tools to DIY all day long. Run with us on a 1 Series tractor and start telling your story. Learn more at johndeere.com/radio.
Touchdown, Renner! Almost Andy Reid here. You know, a few years ago, my wife surprised me with tickets to a Halloween ball. And guess what? That night I discovered a new passion. Now I've added to that passion, cheering on the greatest team with the greatest garage door company of all time. Renner offers top-notch repair services, new doors, and LiftMaster openers. It's the perfect 3-peat forward and back, RENNER with Renner. You'll stay on the championship track. Visit rennerdoor.com.
This holiday at T-Mobile, I'm joined by a special co-anchor.
What up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Snoop D-O-double-G.
Snoop, let's talk about T-Mobile.
Okay, cool.
This holiday, get 4 lines for $25 a line, plus 4 iPhone 16s with Apple Intelligence and the all-new camera control on us.
Let's get cracking, like a breakfast egg.
You can use those eggs to make some eggnog, Snoop.
Respect.
And people do love T-Mobile, where you can save on every plan versus the other big guys.
You know, y'all can take some of those savings and buy some Snoop merchandise.
Always a great stocking stuffer, Snoop.
We up out of here.
Hold your horses, Snoop D-O-double-G. Let's remind people one more time.
Head to T-Mobile.com and get 4 iPhone 16s with Apple Intelligence on us, plus 4 lines for $25. Now drop that jangle.
With 24 monthly bill credits, 4 eligible trade-ins, and 4 new lines with autopay. Well-qualified customers plus taxes and fees and $35 per line connection charge. Cancel entire account before receiving 24 bill credits and credit stop and balance on required finance agreements due. $829.99 credits end if you pay off device early. See how you can save on wireless and streaming versus the other big guys at T-Mobile.com/switch. Apple Intelligence available now.
This Thanksgiving at Total Wine and More, find bourbons and Cabernets that you adore.
With curbside pickup available and the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
This Thanksgiving at Total Wine and More, find bourbons and Cabernets that you adore.
With curbside pickup available and the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue.
We got a new function on the Odyssey app.
Did you guys know that this is a thing? I can send you messages from the Odyssey app. Kind of crazy.
KFNZ FM and AM HD1 and HD2, Kansas City, in Odyssey Sports Station.
One o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you here in about 15 minutes. It is a Snitch Line Thursday. We only do this like once a month or so, but a Snitch Line Thursday coming up. You can start texting those in as well to 913-586-7965. But it's time to talk some fantasy football with Paul Charchian of Guillotine Leagues and FantasyLife.com. He is presented by Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views. All right, Charch, we'll start with the news on everybody's mind. Tommy DeVito and his agent are back in the spotlight. What does that mean for those that have been holding out hope that Malik Neighbors can still carry them to the playoffs?
It's not good. If you love dump-off passes, you're going to love seeing Tommy DeVito again. Last year, he threw 178 passes. I went back and looked. He's played 8. We had to suffer through 8 long games of Tommy DeVito last year. His average game was 137 yards and 1 touchdown. I mentioned the 178 passes. He completed 14 passes of more than 15 yards. So it's all just short dump-off stuff. And what I really hate about this, though, Alex and Cody, is this. So the Giants didn't want to trigger Daniel Jones's injury clause in his contract, so they bench him. So they should be going to the backup. That's Drew Lock. But Drew Lock's got escalators in his contract that he would hit as the Giants starter for the remaining 7 games. So they don't want to pay him either. So he's out. So they go to Tommy DeVito, who's their third stringer, despite getting almost 0 practice time with the first and second team offense. In practice, as the third stringer, you're playing the role of opposing quarterback. And now he's the starting quarterback. It's bad. You know, Tampa's it's a soft spot against Tampa. Their pass defense has been terrible, but I don't like any part of this, including the teammates that know that Tommy DeVito should not be on the field right now.
Charge, it's kind of tough because this is a weird week for buys. I think this might be the worst bye week of the year, right? Falcons, Bills, Bengals. I mean, that's a lot of offensive players people have been counting on. There's no universe. Like, if you had to start a bad quarterback, I'm in a 16-team league, and somebody was disappointed they didn't get Tommy DeVito to start in a bye week. They're starting Cooper Rush.
Wow.
Is there a bad quarterback that you can even go with this week?
Well, actually, you know, I oddly enough, I think yes, there is. As a matter of fact, Caleb Williams against the Vikings makes some sense. Vikings ranked 28th in passing yards allowed. Caleb Williams has been a disaster, but you could go with him. Will Levis, coming off a season-high 300-yard game, he has scored in every one of his full games. So that might be an option. Houston's allowed touchdown passes in every game since week 2. So there's 2 waiver wire guys you could go to, and you're right. It's a brutal bye week, and then next week we have no buys, and then the week after that we have 6 buys, and the teams on bye are potentially even better than this one. So do some advanced planning if you've got Week 14 troubles.
We're talking to Paul Charchian about fantasy football each and every Thursday here on Cody and Gold. He's, of course, from Guillotine Leagues and FantasyLife.com. Here in Kansas City, we know they get the Panthers, which everybody here kind of thinks this will be a get-right spot for KC. What about Patrick Mahomes? We know the stats haven't been there, but against Carolina, is this one of those where you still are having to start him?
Well, this was a tough one for me all week, trying to figure out where to rank Patrick Mahomes because he's facing the Panthers. I got him as quarterback 12. I know, right? I mean, look, you know, Patrick Mahomes. Here's where your quarterback is. This is where it's become for me, fantasy-wise. He's become matchup-proof, but in the wrong way. I think I've gotten to a point where I think no matchup is too easy for Mahomes to put up explosive numbers. He's only got 1 top 10 quarterback finish all year. And just the explosiveness missing, he's turned into a dump-off quarterback. On the season, your quarterback is 20th in average depth of target, and over the last month, he's 26th. You can't roll up meaningful fantasy stats 4 yards at a time. And, you know, Carolina's the opponent, that counts, but they've actually gotten better lately over the last 5 games, giving up just 228 passing yards and 1.5 passing touchdowns. I don't know. I just don't see the explosive upside for Mahomes to move him ahead of quarterback 12, even against the Panthers. You tell me. You follow this.
Well, so would you rather?
Anybody.
I'll ask you
See
this
it differently.
Would you rather? So between Mahomes, Caleb Williams, Anthony Richardson, Jordan Love, who would you rather start?
I have Jordan Love as my number 6 quarterback this week. So I got Love ahead of him, but none of the rest of the guys that you mentioned were ahead of him. But Jordan Love's been a very safe fantasy producer.
Charch, as far as you talk about matchups where you're just like, hey, even this I do it. Chuba Hubbard has essentially been a top 10 fantasy running back all season long. Nobody runs against the Chiefs. It's a horrid nightmare. It's a hellscape if you try to start a running back against the Chiefs. So do you just bench him? Or is this just one of those guys that, screw it, he's on your team, he's got to play?
I've got him in a bunch of leagues, and I'm putting him in my flex spot for most of those. Chiefs' run defense, to your point, has been we're starting to get into historic levels, 52 yards allowed to opposing running backs per game, which is it's staggering how great that is. I believe you're at 3.1 yards per carry, which again, just crazy numbers. The last running back to top, let's see, no running backs top 58 yards against your team all season long. And then I go back and look at, all right, Bijan Robinson, elite runner, 31 yards. Derrick Henry, 46 yards. It's been a nightmare for opposing backs. You saw what James Cook held to 20 yards rushing last week. So your hope here for Chuba Hubbard is what James Cook did with Gold. Let's get short touchdowns and just hope we can convert a touchdown or two out of him. But otherwise, it's unbelievable the run defense your team has put together. And as far as I'm concerned, if I'm going to pick one reason why your team is, what are you guys, 10-1, 9-1?
9-1.
9-1, it's the run defense.
I mean, I can't disagree with it. It makes all teams one-dimensional, which makes a massive difference from a team perspective. In the division, though, I want to ask you about a couple of rookie quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels, I think a lot of people are pinning his bad fantasy performances lately on he got hurt, he had a rib injury, and then he stopped performing. So is Jaden Daniels back to being a start, or do we have to wait out until he's feeling better?
Well, he's also faced Pittsburgh and Philadelphia the last 2 weeks, and that's two of the best defenses in the league. Now he gets Dallas. So you're like, okay. Yeah, this has got to be the get-right spot right here, right? Dallas, last 4 teams to face Dallas have scored 34 points, 27 points, 30 points, and 47 points. But here's where it's actually a little bit tricky. Sometimes Dallas gives up such big leads that nobody passes on them. They're seeing the second fewest passes in the league. And if you think a big Commander's win is coming, and I kind of do here, just know that sometimes opponents just stop throwing. And if the rib injury is still a thing, then all the more reason, if you've got a big lead, let's not expose Jaden Daniels in the running game either. So he's actually got – I still like him a lot. I got him in my top 5 at quarterback. But there's some sneaky downside if this thing turns into a one-sided affair, which it might.
We're talking to Paul Charchian of Guillotine Leagues and FantasyLife.com. So tonight, Thursday Night Football, Steelers at the Browns. Let's start with the weather and the impact that could have. I've been talking about that from a betting angle tonight where the Steelers are 3.5-point favorites. But snow, maybe some wind, Charge. I mean, the total for the game is 36.5.
Yeah, and we've seen other Cleveland games where in Cleveland, in bad weather, where the teams just don't pass. And it just turns into a grinded-out game. And there's a 100% chance of precipitation. It's the old wintry mix, guys. We've got our first wintry mix of the year.
Been too long.
Cold
of course
rain.
It's a Steelers game.
Of course it's a Steelers game. It had to be, right? We're going to get the cold rain. We're going to get sleet, snow, and possibly the elusive sneet in this game. Very exciting. In the hierarchy of winter weather concerns for fantasy players, and by the way, there is one. There's a hierarchy of winter weather concerns for fantasy players. The lowest level is snow. Snow, not a big deal unless it is a ton of snow, and if it really materially affects your footing. And even then, sometimes bad footing, it really helps the offense more than the defense. Defenders are trying to react on a slick surface. That's not necessarily great. Snow is not that big of a deal most of the time. Rain is actually a bigger deal, and cold rain, like we could get tonight, could be a problem because nobody likes cold, slick balls. Quarterbacks can't grip as well. Receivers drop more passes. Nobody likes the cold, slick balls. But the real thing to watch tonight, wind. This is the highest level of concern. fantasy players, if the wind is over 25 miles an hour, you get fewer passes, you get fewer downfield passes, and then if you blend all of that together into one game, which you might have tonight, you could have a compounding factors, and then we might be looking at a game where each team is throwing the ball 12, 14 times, and that would be a massive problem for us from a fantasy standpoint.
Charch, I was one of the several people who drafted Nick Chubb, hoping to stash him for later in the year. Look, it's not exactly saving the season, I guess. So, like, at this point with Chubb, do you think they're just going to kind of, like, protect him the rest of the way? This 10, 11 carries, 40, 50 yards, maybe no touchdowns, or is there some, like, hidden value coming?
Yeah, I mean, the value tonight might be just the weather, and it feels like a Nick Chubb game. You know, you power back, straightforward guy, you know, isn't trying to do a lot of crazy cuts and stuff. It feels like this could be a Nick Chubb game, but I think you've probably got listeners don't even realize Nick Chubb returned 4 games ago because he hasn't done anything. Hasn't found the end zone. He's averaging 3.1 yards per carry. I mean, this is a guy whose career, he's a 5.2 yard per carry guy across his career. You know, just some players, they just don't bounce back from the ACL injury very quickly. And that looks like him. The eye test, he just doesn't, he's always had that spark in his footstep that made him a really special power back. That is not there. Steelers, easier defense to run on than pass on. I mean, you know, like last week the Steelers played Derrick Henry. And the Ravens screwed this up. They only ran Derrick Henry 13 times, and instead they just invited T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward to come ruin their game, and they did. This, you know, I'd like to think that the Browns are going to be smarter about this and try to run a lot more in this game because Steelers are they're a beatable run defense, and why go put T.J. Watt into a spot where you go wreck your game because he will.
Charch, great stuff as always, man. Watch out for the cold, wet balls tonight, and we'll check in a couple weeks. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks. We'll talk in 2 weeks, my friends. Bye-bye.
You got it. Paul Charchian, Conversations presented by Twin Peaks. Eats, drink, scenic views. Cold, slick balls tonight in Cleveland.
Could be risky.
Could be dicey.
Don't know which way that could go.
Drew, are you worried
Feels
about
like a perfect lead
that?
into snitch line.
Is that something that concerns you?
No, I'm not worried about it. I'm okay.
No. Okay. I wasn't sure.
We're not doing What's Your Fantasy this week, right?
No.
No.
Well, fuck. Well, that's all. Okay. All right.
I'm just asking.
Okay.
You know? I'm just asking.
On that note, it's time for Snitch Line Thursday. It's been a while since we did the Snitch Line. 913-586-7965. This used to be a weekly staple on the show. Now we do it once a month. If you have something that you've done at the workplace, something that you've been doing and nobody else knows, it's anonymous. Maybe you witnessed something. That's why you text in 913-586-7965. Let's get started. We got quite the text to start us off from the 660 Snitch Line. So my best friend accidentally sent my wife a D-pic on Snapchat. Saying it was for his wife, but come to find out it wasn't for her. It was for his ex from high school. Do I tell his wife? Should we still be friends? My wife deleted him and blocked him, by the way. LOL.
Okay, so for starters, I would ask how close you are with this person. I do think there's a level of close you need to be with someone before you become the breaker of cheating news. But if this is like a close person in the friend group, you can absolutely tell her. You can, again, do the snitching. At least
but
whether
your
or not
best
you should
friend,
still be friends.
Your best friend.
People are flawed.
Yeah, because like think of whoever your best friend is, and he
is cheating on his wife or wants to.
Or trying, yeah.
Or at the very least sending pics of himself to other women.
I think it's not just how close are you to his wife. I also think it is your wife close to that family, like to that person's wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, doesn't that almost matter more in this circumstance, Cody? That is your wife who got sent the picture, how close is she to his wife?
If they're close,
yeah.
You got to tell them. You got to tell them. I mean, that's just like, or you got to tell her. That's just the reality of the situation, I think.
Someone else from, wow, we're just going with the sexual theme today, aren't we?
Okay, right.
From the 816 on the Snitch Line, I witnessed a coworker of mine having special time by himself in the car on break. LOL.
On break?
Oh, my goodness.
Damn, having a stressful day at work?
Well, jeez.
At work?
Oh, my goodness.
If you want one that goes away from that theme. Somebody earlier, like as soon as you guys teased it, like an hour ago, somebody said, "Guy at work, you dirty, dirty man. We saw you clipping your fingernails in the office. Death penalty isn't severe enough."
We had this happen.
That's an at-home activity. Unless it's one hangnail. I will allow for clipping of a hangnail.
We had this happen, I don't know, 2 years ago. Was it 2 years? A coworker at our sister station, KMBZ. He still works here, by the way. In the corner of his desk, just taking his time clipping every last fingernail. Remember this? No trash can.
What?
Ludicrous, dude.
Yeah.
He was like one step off from taking off his shoe and getting to a toenail.
awful.
It was, I mean, it was on. Actually, maybe it was on the table. Ludicrous.
I don't know.
Ludicrous. From the 816, I work in the area at a local hardware store. Says the department manager is messing around with the 55-year-old department manager is messing with a 20-year-old girl. Said she's using him for his money, but
no, you missed the part. They worked in lumber. That detail. Thanks for that detail. They work together in lumber.
Said, should I tell him?
There's some jokes there.
He's 55 and she's 20. I think there's.
They both are moving around some wood.
I think he's. I don't think he wants to hear it from you either way. I think you just let that one go. I think you just let that one go. I don't think you need to say anything to that guy. I think you're good.
Moving around some wood, eh?
Yeah, just handling wood.
Someone says snitches get stitches. No, it's the snitch line. We allow it. For this
That's what it's for.
This 10-minute period, once a month, it is an open door on this show.
For those that are new to the snitch line and maybe new to the station here on 96.5, this all started actually during COVID.
It did.
The snitch line, because the NBA at the time opened up essentially a snitch line for people that were snitching if someone was trying to violate the COVID protocols at the time back in 2020. And so we said, hey, why don't we just do a snitch line for fun in regards to this? And here we are. Here we are 4 years later.
We don't have to say the person's name, but is this text correct?
No, it's not.
That is not the person.
It is not.
I assumed it was not.
Yeah, let me be clear on the nail trimming thing from the story in the office on KMBZ. It is not Scott Parks or Dana Wright or anybody like. No, it's not. It's not that. No.
But they definitely did it, and I'm pretty sure they did their toenails one time. This was like when Nick was
top text based on your random question yesterday.
From the 816. Right. Oh wait, so yesterday it was okay to have sex in a car. Now today, pleasuring yourself outside of home is bad.
Oh my goodness!
First off,
I'm not even kidding. I got a text from my dad yesterday.
Oh no, he was listening during that time.
I forgot to bring this up. But yeah, I got a text from my dad yesterday, and he's like, "Hey, I was listening to your show today." I'm like, "Okay," and he's like, "Yeah, you guys." He goes, it wasn't even a text. This was on the phone, actually. He's like, you guys were, I think I caught you were talking about sex on the show. I go, oh, yeah, that was, I was like, yeah, that was Cody's random question. I was like, yes, we were talking about this Adam Schefter story. And I just ended it there. I did not get any more detail.
Oh, he didn't just
no,
be like.
Well, I didn't want to get any more detail.
He didn't say, like, I've had sex in a car.
Yeah, I don't want to get any more, any more detail.
They could have gone any number of which ways.
Here we go. Stitch line continues. 913-58.
You ended that conversation quick.
I did. 913-586-7965. From the 816, someone says, specifically snitching on a employee at like an office store who left 6 boxes of paper outside our front door in the rain the other day, didn't come into our office to tell them they dropped off, just sat there in the rain soaking up water.
Oh, man.
Not good.
Yeah. That's the one you just hope nobody ever catches that it was you that I guess did it, right?
Yeah.
From the 816, best friend's manager at work's been stealing everyone's tips.
Ooh.
Someone claims they were in prison and never snitched there, but they're snitching now.
So well, they know there's no consequences here.
No consequences here. Stealing everyone's tips.
Did you see this? From the 913, yes. I have been, someone says they've been shoplifting steaks and lobsters from a local grocery chain. I won't name the grocery store. I've been eating very good, and I feel like a loser because I'm a thief.
So you're eating like it's weird. Steaks and lobsters, like you're eating like a king, but you feel like a loser.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough.
That is eating like a king. Steak and lobster every night. Aren't you tired of that?
You're just going in the grocery store and what you're
swiping a steak.
Like the steak. I mean, if you're getting the kind from behind the counter, what you're having them wrap it up and then they put a label on it, and you're just not going to the checkout lane. You're just purposely not.
Bag,
you're just not scanning that. You're scanning like the toothpaste and toothbrush, but not the filet mignon. What's going on?
As long as they're not alive.
Someone
like
from the 660, Drew, says there's this guy I know on the radio, doesn't like to pay up on his bet, but he also buys stuff and promises selling it. Huh. Whatever that could be.
It's not me. I don't think it's you, Gold.
No, I don't think it's me either. Huh. Cody?
No.
Any ideas?
About that. Don't know anything about that.
Do you see this one from the
I
816?
did. Someone offered to buy the box.
You want to read the construction one?
They never showed up.
You want to read the construction
The
one?
816 said I work a construction site a few years ago. Coworker really pissed me off. Set a pack of cigarettes down. I walked in the other room. He then, I would just say, did something with his genitals towards it. Said
Something you would do on like a
all of them. So it was a hot day in July. Never told anyone.
Oh man.
Yeah, if anybody's played Call of Duty, sometimes you'll do that after you shoot somebody on Call of Duty. That's what this gentleman did to someone's pack of cigarettes. Yep.
Someone's from the 816 has never rat a bro out for cheating. Not my place, not my fault.
Okay.
I don't know, man.
No.
I'll just tell you, turning a total blind eye about it speaks to your own ethics a little here in this
He said it wasn't his place and it wasn't his fault.
I mean, yeah, but it feels like you're kind of enabling.
I'll say this. 100%.
I'll say this. If it's not going to be your fault, if you're going to stand by that, you better never be an alibi for the guy. You better not get a call from the wife and be like, hey, was he with you last night? And you're like, yeah, absolutely. We were kicking it all night. Second, you're an alibi. You are part of this. You absolutely.
I hope I'm never stuck in an alibi situation where you got to make sure your P's and Q's are on the same page. So that I don't need to be in that situation.
People steal from their workplace.
Yeah,
same person said they used to do that and stole over $300 for the steaks over the summer.
Used to work at that same grocery store's meat department.
So the steaks were tasty. He said I was a young, immature man. Please forgive me for the mistakes of youth. I think that's fair.
Oh, here's an interesting one. This is family drama, maybe. I don't know. This one's not family. This is a different one. I'm pretty sure my manager from the 913 is framing me for the deposit she's stealing. She pulls the cash out of the deposit from the bag off camera and then sends me to the bank setting me up. I'm not 100%, but pretty sure.
Ooh.
Interesting. I think you got to be counting that before. I think you need to get your hand on account before that. Or at the very least, you got to start saving some of this footage.
They don't say you're the one stealing a couple $100 or whatever.
Put it on
it
you.
is.
From the 785, my entire company's getting fired on December 20th. Everyone is pissed. One of my co-workers went and took the company truck mudding and left it in a hole overnight. So went for a little joyride in the company car, huh? Ideally not the one who rear-ended me the other day. That was a company car.
Was there mud on it?
No, it looked pretty clean, honestly. The guy kept a pretty clean truck until he put a big dent in it. Been dealing with the insurance companies the last couple of days. I don't feel like I'm supposed to talk about it in case somehow I can screw this up.
No.
They've already accepted liability, which they should. Nobody else's car was damaged. It's there for the person who.
Are you seeking compensation?
A medical compensation. There's a medical report open. We gotta see how that goes.
Okay. Your neck mobility looks good today.
Feeling a little better.
Uh-huh.
Feeling a little looser.
No
on
neck
that
brace.
end.
No neck brace today.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see.
Go Jim Woolridge. Neck brace while you're doing the show. All right, that is the snitch line. Up next, we'll get a quick what's trending in. And we talked with former Chiefs wide receiver Danan Hughes earlier today. We asked him about kind of the mental psyche going into a matchup against an opponent like the Panthers, where everybody thinks you're just going to go in and destroy them. How do you handle that? That's coming up next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for K-State Athletics. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, it's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Holding out for epic Twin Peaks gear to go on sale? Score 20% off online merch with promo code BF2024 through November 29th. Visit twinpeaksrestaurant.com/shop to add the perfect swag to your cart and save big.
Than to enjoy watching the Chiefs with some wings and an ice-cold Bud Light. And Buffalo Wild Wings is serving up both for every game, all season long. Join me at the Buffalo Wild Wings, North Avenue and 71 Highway in Belton, Friday, November 22nd. I'll be there from 6 to 8 p.m. celebrating the back-to-back Super Bowl champs while eating some wings and drinking $5 Bud Lights. Nothing easier to enjoy than that. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
For more, go to 965thefan.com. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Gates Barbecue's most iconic
iconic flavors will make your holiday meals unforgettable this year. Spice up your holiday get-togethers with Gates sauces and seasonings, made with fresh ingredients and gluten-free. Prepare your meats, potatoes, and vegetables with Gates sauces and seasonings. And while watching a game or your favorite holiday movie, sprinkle Gates seasoning on a fresh pop bowl of popcorn. Your taste buds will thank you. Buy Gates now. Available at your local grocer or online at gatesbarbecue.com. We do it the old-fashioned way.
Hey, holiday heroes. It's a special time of year at Shane Company. As a family business for 4 generations, we know firsthand that fine jewelry is the gift that says it all. From the engagement ring that says, "You're the one," to the diamond tennis bracelet that says, "Thank you for being you." We have the widest selection of fine jewelry gifts, in stock and ready to take home. Come pick out a pair of hand-matched diamond stud earrings or a necklace with a colorful gemstone. Check out our new Bloom collection, one of owner Tom Shane's favorites this year, featuring stunning sapphires, emeralds, or rubies. At Shane Company, every gift and every price range is crafted to our high-quality standards. We have jewelers working in every store to bring your gifts to life, making sure rings fit just right, setting center stones and engagement rings by hand, and engraving your pieces to make your gifts even more special. Your gifts will always be protected with our unmatched free lifetime warranty. Visit shaneco.com and come see us in store. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Hey friends, it's noisy out there with information coming at us all day, every day. It's hard to know what to trust, and the world of wealth management is no exception. That's why UMB Private Wealth Management helps you tune out the noise and tune into what matters most. They'll create a financial plan based on your unique goals, so it's your voice that comes through loud and clear. Get financial clarity. Go to umb.com/privatewealth to schedule an appointment. That's umb.com/privatewealth.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of Depend, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing catch. Because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, Depend is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 40 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend Shield Guards Real Fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $300,000 void in Mississippi.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This holiday season, Straight Talk Wireless is letting you say yes a lot more with real unlimited data. Yes to sharing pics of the ugliest holiday sweaters. Yes to checking weather on the go for surprise sledding trips. And with a free phone at sign up, let the yes-tivities begin.
No way!
Yes way. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart or straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 1/5/25 while supplies last at participating stores. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation on select single line plans. Limit of 2 phones per customer. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
Our daughter Jessie loves
loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
Brought to you by the Kansas City Symphony.
From Handel's Messiah to Frozen in concert, see your holiday playlist come to life with the Kansas City Symphony. Explore the full holiday lineup and get your tickets today at kcsymphony.org. There's no wrong way to symphony.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. What's trending?
What's trending here on Cody and Gold, presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Applied today at bakeru.edu. We start with the Chiefs. A little update from practice today. The Chiefs saying that, just like yesterday, everybody's expected to work in some capacity. And now we'll see what's the actual status of guys like Pacheco and Amenihu, who were both limited yesterday. Could they be full participants today?
Maybe.
That'll be something to keep an eye on. But other than that, no surprises. Everything continuing to trend in the direction that it was trending yesterday.
Andy won't talk until tomorrow. We'll obviously bring you that news at 1 o'clock tomorrow during the fan club. We'll get you an update on what at least he says tomorrow as we wait to find out if Pacheco and Amenihu will make their debuts. Next up on What's Trending, Chris Sale and Tarek Skubal won the Cy Young Award last night. No surprises on that end. They were both the heavy favorites to do so. The Royals did have two top four finishers, though. Seth Lugo was the runner-up, finishing second, and Cole Reagans finished fourth. Two top four finishes for a team. I mean, you want to know how they went from 56 wins to the playoffs. Fairly simple math. Also tonight, the MVP awards will be announced for Major League Baseball, where it's expected Shohei Ohtani will win unanimously and Aaron Judge will win unanimously, but Bobby Wood Jr. is predicted to finish second.
Next on What's Trending, just an update on Missouri sports betting. We all know Election Day was a couple Tuesdays ago, and at that point, sports betting in Missouri had passed. Then this week, some people got a little nervous. I had a couple of people tweeting me wondering what was going on. The margin of victory had narrowed, because remember, this all still has to be certified. So just because it's so close, normally we don't, all results always have to be certified. It's just people are tracking this one closer because it got narrow. And the reason was there was one county, Christian County in Missouri, that on election night reported 40,000 or so ballots. And then on Monday, all of a sudden, there was over 50,000.
Whoops.
And that's because some early votes received and some ballot counting equipment issues. A lot of the votes from that county were no votes. The margin got all the way down to about 360. Meaning that was the margin towards yes. Now, since then, I talked about this last night on that betting show, the margin has increased again. That's because 7 of the 8, most populous counties have now also turned in more votes from early voting, and those are predominantly yes votes. So now the margin's back up to 1,800 or 2,000.
Man, it was
still
tight.
narrow. You think about 3 million votes almost.
Tight.
2.9 million votes, 3 million votes. But it's still nothing. It's still all good. And looks like there's no reason to be concerned.
Half a percentage point or something difference between the yes or the no side, which is crazy. Lastly, on What's Trending, Juju Lewis, the number 2 player in the country, a 5-star quarterback, has flipped his commitment. A couple days ago, he decommitted from USC. He'll be heading to Colorado. He announced that today on the Pat McAfee show. So Deion Sanders has one of the best. He's going to have the number 1 quarterback in the draft this year. His son, Shedeur Sanders, we got another 5-star recruit to come in right behind him. Juju Lewis heading to Colorado.
As long as Deion's there, he'll be there. You know what I mean? Like otherwise, he'll end up transferring. Yeah, the talent's not even a question. Obviously, this weekend, big college football. We'll maybe talk more about that tomorrow. Big game, Colorado and Kansas. Massive college football playoff implications for the Buffs and for the rest of the Big 12. Earlier today, though, we had former Chiefs wide receiver Danan Hughes join us. He will be in Charlotte on Sunday when the Chiefs take on the Panthers in the game right here on 96.5 The Fan. Noon kickoff, which means pregame coverage with Mitch, Danan, Kling, Dan Israel starts at 9 a.m. We started our conversation with Danan Hughes talking about the rest of the schedule, though, for Kansas City, past the Carolina game, which is what is actually the toughest game remaining?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think Pittsburgh comes to mind, Houston coming here. I'm sure there'll be a lot on the line for them as far as seeding purposes and maybe for us as well. So, that Bills game kind of puts a little bit more emphasis, I guess, or maybe a stronger exclamation point on some of these matchups as we get down the stretch. And then who knows? We may be in spoiler position as well later in the season when we have Denver, to knock out a team like that plays us extremely tough. Could bode well for us in that last week of the season if we're playing for something, and obviously they'll be playing for something as well. So, I mean, as far as importance, as far as tough games, you kind of never know about the toughness of a game because injuries come into play. Heck, Cleveland could be a tough game based on where we're at from an injury standpoint, that game. So I feel as important is probably the best word to slot in there. And Pittsburgh, Houston, the Chargers could definitely be one of the more impactful games coming up if they continue to play like they're playing. They're kind of the team that I've talked to you guys about in previous weeks in regards to being a team that's on the ascension that hadn't really arrived early, but they seem to be hitting their stride, and they got a lot of confidence. So that game, even though it's at home, could be one of those games as well. So Pittsburgh does come to mind, but I'm not going to sleep on Chargers and the Texans.
Take me inside the mind of a player when you had a week like the Chiefs had on Sunday. They lose to Buffalo, tough game, likely going to play them again. That seemed to be the mindset in the locker room is like, hey, we'll see you in January kind of thing. Now you play Carolina, and from the outside, everybody's saying, hey, this Panthers team stinks, and everybody knows what their record is. How do you handle that as a player, knowing that you're coming off a loss and knowing that everybody just assumes you're going to destroy this team on Sunday?
Well, it's a unique mindset because it's actually different than the general fan and probably a lot of the media because you're so conditioned to be in routine, to respect your opponents, to respect any opportunity on any given Sunday that you can be beat. And I'm sure Andy Reid, he's been around this league a long time. He knows what to say. He's been down this road before, has probably had several losses on his resume against teams that were significantly worse than them as far as stats and record. And then that's where the reality comes in. So if you are a leader on this team, if you're one of the coaches, they have to have stories. Heck, I have stories from when we played teams that were significantly worse than us and we wind up losing. So each of them can tap into that, and it's about keeping it normal. We're creatures of routine. The Wednesday practice is the Wednesday practice. The Thursday practice is the same. Friday and the walkthrough on Saturday, it's all the same, whether you're playing a top team in the NFL or you're playing a team that's fledgling that's probably going to be battling for a number 1 or number 2 pick in the draft, because you know the feeling and you remember the feeling of, yeah, we didn't take that team for granted, but they came in and whooped our butt. Or we didn't cross all the T's and dot the I's like we should have back in 2010 when we lost to that team and they came in and they gave us the business. So, I feel like these coaches can tap back into that, and players very impressionable. As much as we want to say these guys have their own spirit, they have their own personality, their own character, you can dial into a player pretty easily and not manipulate them, but also, kind of infiltrate their brain to make them understand stronger what the matter at hand is versus just overlooking them and looking to the next team. That's the Raiders on Black Friday.
Dan, I want to make this clear that this is not something I say often, and I understand how the league is a very close league for a variety of reasons, and that's what makes it the best sport. This should be an ass-kicking, right? They are far superior to the Panthers?
So there's two different questions you had there. They are far superior than the Panthers, but as far as what kind of ass-kicking it is, I will never, ever, ever say that a blowout should happen in the NFL because there's grown men with families and getting paid on the other side. I've been around this league since 1993. This is not college. This is not, University of Alabama playing Arkansas Pine Bluff. It's not. It's the NFL. And, they got some players over there. Josie Jewell is over there. They got Joe Horn's son over there, who I played with here in Kansas City. Like, they got some players over there, and they got something to prove. Like, if for no other reason, and we've always said this, we said this over the last 2 years specifically, every team that we play, it's their Super Bowl. Like, what better example of it actually being the Super Bowl for a team than the Carolina Panthers, who hasn't been anywhere near there since Cam Newton was the quarterback? So, like, if they're ever in their hometown, in their stadium, going to be up for one game, it's not the Atlanta Falcons, it's not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's not, the New Orleans Saints in their division. It's going to be the Chiefs, who they play once every 4 years and don't play on their home field there necessarily once every 4 years. So you got to expect that you're going to get the absolute best, especially with them coming after a bye. You're going to get the absolute best from that team. Now, could that still equate to a blowout? It's possible, but I would not be surprised to see this game be closer than what a lot of people think, and then hopefully we can pull away and it be a two-score game at the end.
We're talking to Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver. He, of course, is part of the Chiefs radio network. You'll hear him on the call along with Mitch Holthus, Dan Israel, Josh Klingler on 96.5 The Fan. Noon kickoff pregame begins at 9 against Carolina. I feel like every week we ask you about Xavier Worthy and, like, how close are they? Last week was another example where they were able to get him open down the field. That has not been a problem, Dana. He's gotten open, but it's always, maybe not knowing the field awareness. Maybe Mahomes is also a little off. What are you seeing, and do you agree that it seems like it's closer than ever for them to connect on one of these?
Oh, absolutely. I think the biggest thing, if you ask any NFL player, specifically a wide receiver that's ever played, that is currently playing, they will tell you the toughest thing to do in the NFL is get open. That's the toughest thing to do, is get open.
He didn't have that problem.
Whether the quarterback finds you on those times you get open, or it's designed to go somewhere else and you got open anyway, the toughest thing to get open. So if you're talking about the hurdles of a rookie campaign for Xavier Worthy in this offense, he's already knocked down one of the first ones. I would say in this offense, it's absorbing the offense, it's getting the trust of Patrick Mahomes, and then it's getting open. He's already got all three of those covered. Now it's just got to be fine-tuning the wide receiver skills. And some of those is strength, it's field awareness, it is understanding the schemes, not necessarily just the plays, and that's different. And I mean, we could have a whole 1 week show on schemes versus plays. Why are you running a route this way? Why do we expect you to be in this place? What does your depth at 14 yards mean for Travis Kelce, who's running a route at 8 yards? If you ran it at 10 yards, you might be too close to him. If you run it at 16, you might be too far away. You run it at 14, that's the perfect mesh so that Travis is open or you're open and Patrick has options. So the scheme is different than just running routes. Having said that, like, I love Patrick and I love his leadership and I love his willingness to take the blame in part for some of this stuff. But as a former wide receiver, and this is not a knock to Xavier Worthy at all, like, he's got to know where he's got to be on the field. Like, he has to know his presence on the field, especially as you get closer to the sideline. And that's something that's fixable. I know we've seen it on a couple of occasions this season so far, but it's his rookie campaign. That is absolutely something that is fixable, and I believe Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, Connor Embry, they're going to address it, and hopefully it doesn't show itself the rest of this season, but it's absolutely something that will be worked on during the offseason where we won't see this again.
Dana, they were limited participants yesterday, so we don't know whether or not they're going to be available, but who do you expect to have a bigger impact the rest of this season, Isaiah Pacheco or Charles Omenihu?
Charles Omenihu. I feel like we are, as well as George Karlaftis is playing, and obviously Chris Jones is a beast. Our sack numbers are down, and we got to be better in that position. We're 27th in the NFL right now with just 19 sacks. I feel like if for no other reason than that, Charles Omenihu's presence, and he showed this last year when he came back from his suspension, especially in the playoffs, one of the bigger defensive plays against the Ravens was by his arm, literally. So I feel like with his presence and his ability to play inside and outside, and conversely how we're running the ball with Kareem Hunt, Not saying that we're not missing Isaiah Pacheco, but if you're talking about impact, I would say Charles Omenihu could make a major impact. A guy that's hungry, coming off an injury, wants to prove his worth, wants to prove that he's a playmaker. I think opposing offenses, specifically the tackles, better watch out.
Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver. You got players only tonight, right? 6 o'clock?
Yes, sir. Players only tonight. I will be in the building, and we'll have some fun. We got some hot fire takes. We'll have the text lines and the phone lines open as well, and then I'll be with Barbershop and J.C. Pearson tomorrow night at Buffalo Wild Wings in Belton as we take on the fan football show there. So 2 nights in a row, you're going to hear me on the airwaves. It's going to be fun.
There we go. Safe travels out to Charlotte as well. We'll be listening on Sunday. Appreciate it.
All right, fellas.
So that was Danan Hughes a little bit earlier today, and our conversations with Danan are brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue. That's why I wanted to ask about Worthy, because and we all acknowledge it. He's getting open. He's been
when
able
he's throwing him the ball, he's standing by himself with no one near him, 15 yards.
He's getting open. We all know he's struggled with some of the field awareness, spatial awareness with that. I still think last week, that one drive to start, that was still a very good sign of where he's trending, the contested catch that he made. Now got to make the one that we all think is easy, even though it's way more difficult than it looks.
It's supposed to be easy for them.
Correct.
I mean, you and I can't do it, but that's the point.
That's right.
That's what a professional athlete.
Sean Barber
disagrees with you.
Sean Barber was texting. Well, he disagrees with Danan. He was texting me. He says that he doesn't think the toughest thing for an NFL wide receiver is getting open.
What do you think the toughest part is? Catching?
I don't know. Barber's listening. You can
Route
text me.
running?
What do you think the toughest thing is for a receiver then?
Yeah, route running, catching.
Sean Barber says, I can say this because him and Danan are good friends and they give each other a hard time. He says, I need to take an Advil after hearing Danan talk.
They've got a clear rivalry between offensive players and defensive players. And whose job is
I'm going to have to tell him that
hard.
Barber said that tonight when we're knocking iron for after hours.
You need to.
I'm going to tell Danan that.
Look, they'll be able to address it tomorrow night when as he said, they're going to be out at the fan football show, Buffalo Wild Wings in Belton tomorrow night. So, and they're hosting together. So that'll more reason to listen tomorrow night for that.
I think route running might be one for me, but Danan's a former NFL wide receiver, so I could be wrong. You know, route running would be the one for me because that's the one that seemingly holds back, especially guys. How about this? For Andy Reid-led wide receivers, I think that's number one. Because if they don't trust you to stand in the spot that you're supposed to stand in, then Andy doesn't do that. And what we're talking about is on that one Xavier Worthy route, there are people who are NFL experts who actually follow the league, who talk about receiver routes, who talk about what he did there was actually wrong. He shouldn't have gone to the sideline because the guy blew the coverage. He should have gone deep. Nate Taylor said the same thing. He should have kept stretching the field rather than holding himself against the sideline.
We had the snitch line earlier in the hour, right, at 1:15.
Yeah, we did.
Barber says Drew's out here being a snitch, saying he's going to go talk to...
As soon as I said that, I thought the exact same thing, Barber. So... I don't know. So should I or not, guys? I'm going to let you
at
decide.
this point, I think you should say something because it'll set up Friday night very nicely when they're hosting together. Real quick, Thursday Night Football tonight. You guys interested in this one? It might be
second
a
half
nice
if it's close.
Classic football weather, good on TV game where it just looks like football weather for the first time all year. It's wintry mix in Cleveland, high 30s, maybe a little windy. Steelers, Browns. Like, it does have strong football vibes this evening.
This game needs to be December 20th to feel perfect.
It's going to look like that. I like Pittsburgh tonight. I think they get to 9-2. Some people are a little nervous because Mike Tomlin, under him, they have not won a road divisional Thursday night game. Bizarre, right? 0-5.
Okay, small sample size.
0-7 as an organization.
Weird.
Road, yeah, I know. They're 8-2 against the spread
Weird
this
trend.
year. Cleveland's lost by 17 and 21 the last 2 times out. I think it'll be an ugly game. I don't know how Cleveland scores on this defense consistently enough. So I like Pittsburgh -3.5. It's one our in-house contest that we do with other people from the station. You and I actually both, which that's what makes me nervous. You and I both put on the board Pittsburgh
and I've been
-3.5.
terrible this year. You do not want to be on the same side as me. But the way I view this game is how I view a lot of Thursday night games. I am interested a little bit because it has a direct impact on the Chiefs. If the Steelers keep winning, at some point they are a threat to the number 1 seed, especially because these two teams play each other in less than a month, or actually a little bit more than a month. But so that part interests me, but it's one of those, like, I'm ignoring the first half of that game. If you tell me it's 13-13 in the second half, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in then. I don't want to watch a whole...
I'm
it's like
excited
watching
for
it's like
tonight's
watching
game.
a Big Ten basketball game.
Yeah.
Cleveland and I mean,
there's just so many.
It's like
you hate the Big Ten in basketball.
It's terrible product.
It's better than you think it is.
But this is an NFL.
I haven't watched as many.
I promise.
This is an NFL game, rivalry. There's also other implications involved. There's fantasy football implications. There's betting implications. There are number one seed implications. There's plenty here for me
Gold's
tonight.
telling you to bet on the game, Cody, so you have more of an
It's
investment.
an 8-2 team versus a 2-8 team. If it's close at half, I'll get involved.
Okay. All righty. Hope you guys have
It's
a good
Steelers,
rest
so it
of the
might.
day. As Danan said, players only coming up tonight at 6. Up next, though, we hand things off to C-Dot and Rob right here on 96.5 The Fan.